Okay, so it is 6:10 and I will call the meeting to order. First up, call to the audience. Seeing none, we'll move on. Next, the meeting minutes. Did everybody have a chance to review the minutes? Do you need a minute now?
I looked at it.
I already changed a small thing because Dustin let me know that Noelle wasn't there, so I already took her off the minutes.
Oh yeah, it's different. You didn't notice.
Yeah, because I did
different.
a PDF after the formatting issue with the last minutes.
People still need a minute? Still want to review them?
I'm good.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, with a motion and a second, vote to approve the minutes. All the ayes?
Aye.
Aye. All the nays? Abstentions? Motion passes. Back to the agenda. Okay, so external committees. Dustin, you have anything to say?
Well, I sent you the list.
Yes.
And are we still thinking about the list, or?
I've made some changes on it based on,
Is that the list I sent you, or is that the list that I have on the drive? Because I think I sent you the one where there's like filled in positions.
okay, I was
you
doing
fill
the one on the drive, but it has people filled in.
Does it? Okay, let me double check.
Yeah, that's one I'd been updating.
Okay.
But given the information with, from Silvana,
Oh yeah, because her slots.
yeah, those will need to change.
Which I don't see a problem, because we have other members in GPSC that we haven't allocated to that list yet. Those are only people who have showed up so far.
Okay, and that was my other
Three
question,
meetings.
is there seem to be some people missing.
Yeah, there should be a lot of people missing.
Okay. So some of the committees have training coming up. Hearing board definitely has training at the end of August and beginning of September. Green Fund, I think they do like a retreat
Okay.
fairly early, and so they have been eager to get their folks.
Did we assign those already?
We have not assigned those in any official capacity, and we have not communicated that with any of the committees. I think even if we're not ready to make a decision on all of them, that we should move forward with the ones that we know have trainings and the ones that we feel pretty confident assigning people to and getting people going. Because yeah, I have the
Oh, that's right. You removed Silvana from Green Fund.
yeah.
Okay.
The SPBAC Strategic Planning and Budget Committee. I'm sitting on that one, and they meet for the first time on Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I was thinking we would replace whoever's the new treasurer with Green Fund and RCM, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And also, when did you say the Green Fund retreat was?
I think it's right at the beginning of the semester. So
Okay.
let me see if I have.
And you sent me one picture about an email about some kind of workshop regarding assembly chair and other Robert rules.
Yes.
It was in last of July, maybe.
Yeah. So Megan and the advising team has been working to help us set up a training that would be really for probably any members of the executive board who are interested, but definitely Amin, since you run the general council, and me, since I run the executive board meetings, but then also the committee meetings will follow the same procedure. So I'd like to have as many of us as possible attend.
What was that called again?
Parliamentary procedure
Okay.
about Robert's Rules of Order. I don't believe that has been scheduled at this time.
No, I just
Megan, do
need
you have any
people's
updates?
availability, and then I asked the guy to send me what his availability was too. So, but I haven't gotten it from ASUA or GPSC yet. So, and the ASUA counterparts to you all will also attend the training.
Okay, so do you need our availability for that? Should we send
If
you?
possible, yeah, for I guess whatever week is good, maybe sometime in September. since
And
we're gonna
how
host.
long will that meeting take, or that workshop?
Maybe an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think an hour, probably 2 hours max.
Yeah.
But if we have a lot of
Imagine talking
questions,
about parliamentary procedure for 2 hours.
we might have a lot of questions.
So, and the guy seems real excited about it. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
the email that I read was
he was excited.
optimistic. He was
Yeah.
eager to come teach us what he knows and the importance of using Robert's rules to run a meeting. So I think it'll be good. I'm definitely looking forward to participating and learning more than I've read on the internet. So I will send an email to get availability. Would it make sense to try to schedule it before we meet another time, or do we want to come up with a totally separate, like before an executive board or general council meeting, or should we just?
If we do it before the last general council meeting of the month, because then the executive board meeting, is that next week?
No, the week after next week. It's scheduled for August 28th, I think.
I think the next one is on Thursday or tomorrow, right? Next one's
Oh,
tomorrow.
you know,
For
you mean
general
the-
council.
Oh,
And then
general
it's the
council
31st.
tomorrow, yes.
Because I thought we're doing.
And then the 31st,
So are we not doing the? So we're gonna, because we wanted to stagger it, right, between the executive board and general council, and so it would be the week of the 21st, that first week of school. If we stagger it, because the general council meeting is scheduled for 31st, right?
Or you mean an alternate?
Yeah, we wanted to alternate it. It would be that week. That's week of the 21st.
Okay.
A week from today.
Yeah.
So it would be a week from today, or we can do this instead of having a meeting, and then just unless we really need to meet next week, or maybe we can decide later. But because we're talking about committees right now.
That's true. Good point. We'll do meeting schedule at the end.
Yeah.
'Cause that's the last item.
Yeah.
So,
And then as far as committees go, if you don't need to add any more people to this list, we can approve. I can start signing and have people done by tomorrow, and I'll just let people know by tomorrow.
okay.
The meeting tomorrow.
I have a couple changes that I found today that I haven't added to the list. They're pretty small. I think you have it down as Arizona Media Board, something to that effect,
Yes.
and it's Student Media Board on that one.
So you want me to change the name of it?
Yeah, and then I'm not
So
sure.
Arizona Student Media Board or just Student Media Board?
Arizona Student Media Board.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if the other media board exists.
That
If
one is
it's-
the public media one, with like the public Arizona Tucson area kind of public media board.
And do we have information about that one?
We would have to ask Claudia. I know. Who's the ASU president again?
Matt?
Matt. So Matt is on that. And she said I think she called them up and asked if we could be on it too, and I think they said yes. So she said that would be you.
Okay. Then
Who would be on that?
So I'm on both of the media ones?
Looks like it, yeah.
Okay. Okay, that works.
Do we need to add any more from the bottom that I grayed out, or is there others that?
think so. I will send the list that I was working on.
Okay.
And then we can touch base about that.
Because I know some of these you said did actually exist, and that
Yeah,
I want to make sure that we get them
heard
all.
from the Commission on the Status of Women,
Mm-hmm.
and they said they've had a GPSC representative every year except for last year.
Mm-hmm.
They had one last year. I thought they were like disbanded last year.
Well, Daniel was supposed
Yeah.
to serve on that committee and had a hard time contacting them, and I know he had sent several emails
yeah.
because I saw the emails.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know exactly,
Yeah.
kind of how he
What
found
happened.
out or what he heard, but I know he reported that committee was no longer
Yeah.
in existence, and
Yeah, one of my old coworkers was a president. I think once she left, it was like, so that's great.
yeah, I saw
That
them
they're
on
back.
Facebook, and
Yeah.
they have like a lot of action, and so I emailed them and just
There you go.
asked, and they wrote back and said, yeah,
Cool.
and they're a pretty active group actually. I think they
Mhm.
meet meet once or twice a month, and then you're responsible to sit on one of their committees
Mhm.
as well, and
Mm-hmm.
so I think
Okay.
there'll be a lot of action with that one.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
ASA, we believe they might exist as well, because it's in my contract that I will serve on that group. So
I heard Claudia said that we don't have a spot on that ASA, which is why I took it off the list.
Well, I don't think that it exists
You don't think it exists?
in its current. It did exist
Uh-huh.
a couple of years ago, and then there was a political falling out.
Okay.
Let's call it that.
So maybe you can contact them, and because
Yeah.
since you're supposed to serve on it,
I emailed them on July 28th,
and they haven't
and I have
responded.
not heard back.
Okay. So they probably.
And I emailed.
But they certainly exist at ASU and NAU because we saw that on the website
Mhm.
at the last general council meeting. Remember?
Yes.
We were looking. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
and it seems like
Oh, they did. There was a U of A contact on there.
And I think that's who I emailed Robin. Robin at azstudents.org. Yeah, and I think I got that
Mhm.
email off that website
Yeah.
because I don't know where else I would have come up with that.
Have
but
you guys
they
seen
might
the,
exist.
the list? I guess we should confirm with these guys what I've assigned them to, at least right
Yeah,
now.
that would be good.
So for Amanjot, I got you on Committee of 11 that you wanted, University Fees Committee, and Research Policy Committee. And if you have problems with those, we can switch them out if you want. For Marie, I have you under Library Advisory Committee. I have you under RCA, so Campus Rec Advisory Committee, and I have you under Grad Council.
Okay.
And for Carolyn, I have you under Campus Health and Rec Fee Committee. Have you under Library Advisory Committee and SS Fab.
Yep.
Okay. So
Seems like we have a lot of heavy hitters on Library Advisory Council.
typically they're
Are
EB
they-
members. I mean, you can always switch them out.
Okay.
Like I said, we have a lot of people we didn't assign yet, so
Mhm.
if I start assigning them, then we can
Shuffle.
remove some people.
Okay.
Shuffle them around, yeah.
Okay.
So this is kind of a tentative list. I guess whoever shows up tomorrow, I'll assign them, and then I'll email the people who aren't here currently, which is basically Carmen. Carmen's not here yet.
Okay.
She's out of town until the 22nd.
And Rahul, right?
Raul is not on this list because he's not going to be
Oh, okay.
he's not going to be here for the
Right.
semester
Raul with an H or
with
no
a
H?
with no H.
No.
He should be
Okay.
he should still
Clarification.
he should still remain as a student, but he will not be. So I just didn't assign him to an external committee.
Okay. And the Alumni Association, I'd put them back in the mix because I think they might
Okay.
be real.
Mm-hmm.
So I have also sent an email.
How many did you assign yourself?
Well, I took myself off the Commission on the Status of Women,
5, 6,
and then I think I have to do ASA if we have a seat, because my contract says it.
10.
And then I think there are notes from Zach that say
You have
President
13.
has served on alumni.
You have 13. You have half of them.
I know,
almost.
it's too many.
Yeah.
I don't know that I need to be on Diversity Task Force. I don't think there's anything that says that's necessary, so that would be one that we could take off.
Yeah.
And it might be good, and when I go to these, I'll maybe ask
Mhm.
if I can have an alternative.
Mm-hmm.
So if I need to miss, we can
Mm-hmm.
have somebody who, you know,
Yeah.
knows what's going on, and, you know, we'll only have one vote, but
Mm-hmm.
we can maybe have 2 people attend, or someone could attend in my absence, because,
Yeah.
I have a lot of committee meetings. And I put myself on RCM just until we get the new treasurer, but yeah,
Mhm.
I like the idea of just having the new treasurer
Yeah.
do that once.
And they'll probably be on Green Fund and then possibly Faculty Senate as well.
Okay.
And so should somebody be assigned to Green Fund right now since they have the training session?
Probably. Do we have a plan for electing a new treasurer? I saw the email saying that we would need to give notice and
Yeah,
that it's not really in the governing docs on how to,
I'm just not sure because she hasn't officially resigned yet.
right.
She just kind of threw the idea out there about resigning because it'd be hard for her to do the position when she's not on campus. So I did send her the resignation form, and I guess she might still be thinking about it. So I was hoping that if she had filled it out, we could do the notice last week, and we can vote it on it tomorrow. But since she hasn't done that yet, I don't think we can really elect anybody until the next meeting, which is the 31st.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Yeah,
And I
so-
know she also said she would be willing to stay on until we,
yeah, but she's not going to be back till September anyways.
right.
She's out of town until September.
I'll follow up with her by email
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of see,
So in
see
terms
what
of
her plans are.
Green Fund, Amin Joe, do you want to do that, or I can do that, or we can have Anand do that? Just
What?
serve on Green Fund temporarily.
What's that?
That's a good question. What is Green Fund?
Yeah. It's it's like student services fee, except it supports sustainable projects around campus and things. So the Office of Sustainability and Students for Sustainability, the sustainability area of Residence Life, a lot of them will submit program proposals. So it's literally the exact same thing as student services fee. They just support green programs.
Okay.
And Chrissy is the advisor for the program, or like semi-advisor. So you'd hang
Yeah.
with her.
So we
I didn't know that.
What's that?
I didn't know that.
So we can do that just because she's in the Budget and Policy Committee. That would be, I don't know when they meet, but we can have her temporary, and then either me or Anand can temporarily be on that committee until we fill it.
Yeah, they usually meet the same time that student services, like in the spring semester primarily. And I think their full budget, we just looked the other day, was $400,000.
Yes, about that. Yeah.
So you're
Okay.
kind of funding programs.
Mm-hmm.
I have, the committee gets up and running early September with an overnight retreat on September 15th and 16th, as well as a 4-day retreat to AASHE. Would-
The ASHE conference, that's what it
Maybe
is,
look
but it's
that
not
up.
It's ASHE. It's the Association for like Sustainable Universities and Colleges.
So
and
it's
stuff.
2 overnight trips is the training or the retreat.
Yeah, a 2-day and then a 4-day.
Okay.
And yeah, the 4-day is held in San Antonio, October 15th through 18th. it's a lot of planning that occurs at these retreats. And they would like to have our appointments there to participate.
When do they want those by?
Before they get up and running in early September.
Okay. We should have our rep by then, or whoever's going to be the treasurer by then. I don't think I can do an overnight trip.
I mean, one, I just looked, the 15th to the 16th is from Friday to Saturday, but the other one is from Sunday to Wednesday in
Yeah.
October.
I don't think I can do an overnight
Which-
trip. Probably going to take comps in October, so.
Yeah,
I'm doing nothing else.
That's not-
Why?
Probably going to take my
Comps.
comprehensive exam in October, so that's not ideal
And
at
I
all.
think in October mostly there are midterms and something.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like it might be right before midterms. Or right around that time.
I don't know that GPSC has sent a representative to ASU before either, so.
Yeah, I mean, if
Yeah, I have no idea.
I can serve on
but-
it temporarily,
It's
but
a big conference, and
Mhm.
I've heard many excellent things about it, but y'all are grad
No,
students, so like
I
comps
can
and
do
that kind of
this,
stuff
but
is
we
crazy.
don't know what specifically at that time frame going to happen in
Yeah.
my class schedule and everything. If I am going to, okay, I'll do it, and after that,
I think mostly right now would just be filling in for
yeah.
just so we know what's going on. And I think if we're doing a fill-in, then having an EB member might be better.
Yeah.
It's more reliable.
And they need 2 people.
Yeah.
Well, we have 2 seats. So,
2 seats?
Yeah.
Trier? And what's other?
I'm sorry, say that again.
2 seats mean 2 people will be going there?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, 2 seats on the committee
Yeah.
as well. So, yeah, we can put either, if Almond Joe wants to do it,
Yeah.
put her on. Because I think whoever's going to be the treasurer might be on that committee.
Mm-hmm.
But you might have grads too that are interested, that are like doing stuff with sustainable things,
Mhm.
and that might actually be a good like professional
Maybe
opportunity.
Just 2.
somebody related with architecture department.
That's what I was thinking.
I wonder if Josh would be interested in
I
it.
bet he would.
What do I have him assigned to? That's a good question. I don't have him assigned to anything.
The new grant
No, I
for
think as long
sustainability.
as, isn't that him?
Oh, yeah, I've assigned him
Oh,
for
they're
the
They're
health
probably going already.
and rec fee. But yeah, I think he would probably do it.
Now his main area in the architecture
Mhm.
is more like social community architecture.
Yeah.
Oh,
let me put him
I
down the
just signed
list.
the paperwork
Actually,
for
I didn't think
it.
about
That's
Josh.
Not
just-
necessarily
just for our people.
in
Yeah.
actual building, but I would imagine just from the brief conversations I had with him, he might be interested in that.
He's also just really busy and can't make anything. But
Yeah, well, he's got a
Oh.
full-time job with Kaplan and.
oh, does he? Okay. Okay. Well, I'll put him down on the list.
Okay, right now let's just think it temporary as we,
Mhm.
then we can figure out
Okay.
what's going on.
I'll put both of you guys on the list.
Mhm.
That's a good idea. I didn't think about Josh.
Okay, so, and you've gone over all the EB members?
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I went
everybody's
through
good with
everybody
everything? Okay.
that they're on.
Yeah, then we'll do the rest, and if people have objections or whatnot, maybe they will reply to us.
I'll send it out tonight, and tomorrow we can discuss as well during the meeting.
Okay. Back to the agenda. Okay, so internal committees. Social and marketing?
We finally have a place I'm waiting for the green light officially, but our first happy hour should be on the 25th at No Anchovies from 5 to 7:30. I'm just waiting for an email back from them on an officially that yes, we have the space for that. Otherwise, throughout the semester, we're going to be trying to plan them both on Thursdays and Fridays. We'll kind of bounce back and forth each month, and then I've had some connections with various departments, including rec. As far as marketing goes, we've been really utilizing the social media. It seems to be working pretty well. Right now we have 805 people signed up for orientation.
Really, 800? Yesterday was
805.
600.
Yeah, 805.
We also didn't make
We've
any
been-
folders.
We've been posting on all of the social media areas, and so hopefully that also reflects in how many volunteers we have. Trying to think, what else with,
800 students only in grad?
Mhm.
graduate, for the
Yeah.
graduate
GPSC
orientation, yeah.
And even though registration cut off on the 13th, is that true?
I don't know that
I don't think we ever cut it off.
not officially.
No, because we,
Okay.
yeah.
I
think
thought it
kinda
said
goes-
something like registered
Yeah.
by the 13th.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
probably.
that my question
Although
was,
would it
does
be
it
Sunday?
actually cut off or,
It does.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
'cause
just gives us an idea of how many.
And I mean, that would have, August 13th, or?
yeah, so yesterday.
That was yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, because I talked to the physics students this morning, and they were like getting on and registering, and wasn't really until afterward that I thought, oh, I wonder, they're all gonna get a "you're too late" email, so that's good. Good
Well,
that
the
there's no
folders are
hard
going to be
cutoff.
first come, first serve, and
Yeah.
T-shirts as well.
They can make a new friend,
650.
sit by somebody, and share a folder.
And we
Yeah.
said we would send them on a scavenger hunt and say, here, that's what you're supposed to have, go find it.
Just so everybody knows, the rec center also has a special for grads to do group classes. Grads can get 17% off. Apparently only 22 people knew about and utilized that last year. So I'm waiting for their marketing department to send me something that we can share, but grad students have access.
17% off for what?
So at the rec center, your health fee first of all pays for you just to go there, right, for the general rooms. Well, they've got group classes you can take, but it's somewhere around $80 extra a semester, something
It
like
depends
that.
on the class.
Well, and they have
Does it
drop-in
cover
fees, but a
athletics,
group
swimming
class
classes
pass,
also?
yes.
So
I
was-
believe so. There's certain ones. So there's classes that coincide with like credited classes, but then there's like any gym you go to, there's the group classes, aerobics classes you can go to. So you can get a semester long pass for about $80. Grad students can get 17% off that. So we
What
wanna
the,
make sure
wow.
students.
I just spent $80 for my swimming classes.
Let me know.
Yeah.
I can give you the email address of my
I
contact.
could have
and
that
see
pass
if
and
we can-
used it.
Possibly, I'm not sure on the swimming classes which ones are and which ones aren't part of that group. There's like a schedule of
Yeah.
group classes, and I don't know what's involved in that or not, but I can send you that email.
Yeah.
More importantly, we just want students to know
Yeah.
about these kind of opportunities because if we have that many students and only 20-something took advantage
course,
of it,
it
that means
make a
it's
big
not being
difference.
advertised.
I was actually just asked about that today, and I said I'd bring it up at the meeting. So
Yeah.
it's-
So
it's
I'm in
good.
contact. I asked her if she wanted me to make something up. She sasaid she wanted to
Mhm.
have their marketing department do something. So
Okay.
Because
I'm
if you're
I'm following
paying
up with them.
separately for each like dance classes and cooking classes and
Yes.
it's like $20, $30, $35 like that.
Yeah.
So if
Well,
you're having a
and-
semester
Yeah.
pass for $80, it's
Yeah.
like free
Is
thing.
that for the group fitness pass?
It's for
or
the group fitness pass.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
so
okay.
there's certain
Yeah.
things that are included in
Cooking's
group
not in
fitness.
there.
I don't know
I mean,
that cooking.
I was just saying
but
that
in general,
there
yeah,
are-
like every
Yeah.
little bit helps.
Yeah.
And of course, if you know of things that are happening at the rec that you think more students would be wanting to be involved with, if we had some kind of a discount, let me know because I can stay in contact with the rec center and see what sort of even grad events we could have that are specific, a special night or a special event just for grad students. So they're definitely open to doing that with us. So
And the Smart Move studio downstairs is open for grad students
Smart
too.
Move Studio, which we have, that's in
flyer
the
in there,
packets, right?
Mhm.
So Smart Move
What's-
Studio comes with your campus recreation
It's
fees.
awesome.
Group fitness is on top of that.
Mhm.
That's an extra thing, but we do have a discount on it. And of course, keeping an eye out. Jessica's been awesome about sending things that she thinks graduate students might be interested in. Send those to me. I will put them in our social media calendar so that
Yeah.
these sort of things just get advertised. And the more we post, social media is an interesting beast because the more you post on it, the more you're seen. So the more types of posts, even if it's silly things, even if it's something that only a few people would be interested in, it's good to post it.
Yeah, I've been entertained by, you know, kind of some of like the comic strips and, you know,
Sound
like
tapes.
yeah, but you post and it gets really good responses, and
Yeah.
I think it resonates with people, and that's good. So yeah, we want to provide a lot of information and services, but it can't just all be kind of, you know, come here on this date, you know, just something that
How many
can
likes do
relate
we have on the Facebook page?
On GPSC,
Yeah.
I think
Mary, I thought you'd have this number memorized. Like a running count.
inside. There we go.
You think there was a projection of
2,727 people like this, and
Okay.
2,600 people follow this.
Okay.
It's a good number.
So a lot of our posts, especially with the ones with the individual like members, that it gets around 1,500 to 1,700.
Yeah.
Which is good. If the total is 26.
I think I haven't done a spotlight for me, which I'm just really bad at, and I need a picture from you, or of you.
Which I'm really bad at.
I meant to bring my camera tonight, and I totally forgot, but we could do a.
I'm not mad at you
selfie
about that.
picture. I need to get with Anand, but hopefully we'll be able to start highlighting graduate students across campus as well. We're going to do that, try and do that every Wednesday on Wildcat Wednesdays.
Okay. So both of them should be here tomorrow. So.
Yeah, so I'm going to chat with him, make sure I get put on, because he started a form for the initial nominations. So I've got to get access to that to figure out how many nominations we have and then start organizing it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I think that's really great, and I think all the posts have been excellent. The pictures, the text.
Mm-hmm.
And I already told Marie too that I think, or that I had the feeling that GPSC comes up more often.
Mm-hmm.
Because I keep seeing the same posts, but they're always on the top of my newsfeed. So I think the frequency is
Start
definitely.
making some noise.
Yep.
There,
Oh.
yeah.
That's very good work on that. Okay, are we ready?
Actually,
to...
with orientation, so the name badges are not going to get here
Oh.
in time, because I think they're finally ordered today. So what we're going to do is we printed out stickers for everybody, so that who's volunteering. We also thought about maybe letting everybody borrow a GPSC T-shirt or a polo, just so that all of us are uniformed. So if you don't have one, either we can pass it around tomorrow, I can bring them out tomorrow, or we have people come pick it up before their shift. I don't know what you
I
guys
mean, I think I would like to grab mine tomorrow.
Okay.
Because I start at 7:30.
Okay. Yeah,
And I mean, it's right over there, but still.
we can pass them around tomorrow
Okay.
for people who are volunteering on.
And put some
Wednesday.
out so we
Wednesday.
can take them with us, because I saw Patrice's emails, and we start at 7:30 in front of the North Ballroom.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we have them ready already to take over with us for the rest of the volunteers
Okay.
who might not be at the meeting
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I will do that. And I think that if they're a volunteer and not part of GPSC, I'm inclined to just
So
have them keep the T-shirt or
Yeah.
polo, just
So we don't have to get it back.
so we don't have to get it back. We can ask for it back. We can say, hey, you can borrow this, and if you want, you can give it back to us. But I don't want to have to chase them down if they don't.
They're gonna get so part of the volunteer, they get a free lunch and they get a T-shirt, and those are the T-shirts we ordered. But if they want a polo instead, we could just make that the.
I mean, I don't know how many there are. I think probably half of them are non-GPSC, so they could just walk around with T-shirts and
Yeah, there's only about 10.
yeah, and you can just walk around with the white T-shirts and have them have the badges say volunteer on them.
Okay.
So either way works.
On the fitness passes, is that for a semester, the $80 for a semester?
Yeah.
Just FYI, their website says unlimited semester pass for $60.
They might have brought it down. I will. I'm gonna talk to her about final prices. I just know there's a code for 70% off for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's an annual fitness pass as well, so if you're
$150.
committed.
I know a lot of people that actually buy that. It probably
had one last
probably is the 20 that Marie mentioned.
No, I had one, but when I bought it, they didn't even ask. I feel like they should have asked if it was good, or
They didn't, and it was not well. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the only reason we know about it is because someone from last year's GPSC is like, are they going to do it again? Are they going to do it again? Are they going to do it again?
Mhm.
So we emailed them, and they're like, we'd be happy to do it again. And I was like, how many people actually took advantage of this? And she emailed me back, only 20. I'm like, let's change that.
Yeah, my guess is maybe they did reduce the price because on their annual pass, it would be more than buying 2 semester
Mhm.
passes.
actually, now that I think about it, I paid about $60 last semester, so it must have already been.
Mm-hmm.
And I might have been thinking, because I was thinking with the 17% off, it almost came out to 60, but it might be just,
Mm-hmm.
that's how I'm remembering it, but it was actually 60.
Mhm.
So I'll double check with her on that as well. They could also, with the new student rec fees that they added, be utilizing that to make that cheaper. But I know part of the reason that they are lowering that too is they want to fill those classes, and they haven't been able to really fill those classes, so it'd be a good thing for students to take advantage of.
Okay, any more on social and marketing?
No.
Okay,
I'm good.
policy and finance?
No.
Okay, so I have some stuff for policy and finance. SAGE, Students Advocating for Graduate Education, is a national group similar to NAGPS but much smaller. And they have 31 member organizations. We are one of them. You have to be an R1 research school, and you have to be a member of AAU, American Association of Universities.
Yeah, we are members.
Yeah, and so it's a pretty exclusive group, and they have a fall summit coming up October 26th through the 29th at the University of Pittsburgh.
29th to 31st.
25th.
You have it listed on the upcoming days as 29th through 31st.
Okay, because I lied. I originally just had the 29th as the date, and so I assumed it spread the other way.
Okay,
But
okay.
on the call that I participated in yesterday, it is the 26th through the 29th. I would like to send a couple people to that. So if you're interested in going, especially if you are involved with the policy committee, but you don't have to be, because it really spans all of our work. And the fall summit is sharing a lot of best practices. So some of the things that we talked about yesterday was how student fees are passed at different universities, and I learned quite a bit about some of the differences in how the University of Arizona does it versus others. And so I think there's opportunity to get a lot of good ideas and figure out how other universities make things work, paying for GAs for classes and kind of having a designated funding source. They are considering signing on to NAGPS's letter about F1 visas. That's something that we've supported in the past, and I'm glad NAGPS is picking it back up, and I'm glad SAGE is joining on board with them, because SAGE existed because they broke off from NAGPS because they didn't think that some of the small liberal arts schools who had kind of taken over several years ago represented research universities and the same interests, so they formed their own group. So I'm glad to see them working together on issues that affect, and I know that is an issue that has come up.
What
for
is
some
that
of you.
letter about? Or is that the one where you don't have to travel back to the country?
Correct.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so if you have any personal information about that,
I mean, it worked well for me this summer, but it's still, I mean, I just traveled back basically to renew my visa, and I still paid $200 to renew it, and still I had to be in Germany, physically present,
Yeah.
to get my visa renewed.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Okay.
I think, especially if you consider that you might not go home for the summer, or that you might not be able to afford to go home for the summer. I was lucky because I had a teaching assignment in Germany, and the processing times that you can't really,
Or even if you're not able to take internships or
Yeah.
fellowships or summer opportunities
Yeah.
because you have to go
Yeah.
back, then that really puts you at a disadvantage.
yeah, and not knowing whether or not you have to go to the embassy, because that was the other thing. I mean, I knew I had to go back, but I didn't know if I needed to go to the consulate again and
Consulate?
travel all over Germany to go there, which luckily I didn't. I could just do it via mail, but it was an uncertainty that wasn't pleasant.
I feel like when we talked about that right at the very before you left, that there was like some misunderstanding that you had about if you had to go or not.
Yeah, correct, because you submit your application for the renewal of the visa, but they don't let you know whether or not you have to go to the consulate until they've reviewed your application. So there's some uncertainty whether or not you have to go, depending on one of your answers or whatnot.
Now, does that have to do with the United States portion of visa applications, or is it country specific? Does it depend on what country?
I don't think so, because it's the same for all F1. I mean, when I read up on it, it was just generally F1.
Okay.
But because you have the visa, it was issued to you, but you have to fill out basically the whole visa application again. And so they keep the right to decide whether or not they want to see you again in person. And so you might be able to just mail your passport and get it back in the mail, or you might have to take your passport there, appear in front of them physically, and then answer some more questions. And you submit your application, and then it takes a while until they tell you whether or not your application is okay, and if you're allowed to just send in your passport or not.
Okay, so since that is something that we've supported in the past as an organization, and I think is a very important issue for graduate and special students, I'm going to sign on for the University of Arizona and have us support that joint letter that will be sent. So I will send that out to the group, and we can share it with the general counsel. So if anybody does have any suggestions, I can make those suggestions when we do it. But it's a pretty standard, this was the policy for a long time. You recently changed it. There's no reason. Change it back.
So for the SAGE Summit, hopefully by then we'll have the Legislative Affairs Director.
Yes.
We can either send them, and Jad can go, or we have Devin's in your committee, and Devin DeGraff Reed. He's in Herod, I think, and David Contreras. He's also
Devin's come to quite a few things this summer.
Okay. So, one of those two. Those are the options, I would say.
Okay. So they do two main national events. They do the summit, where they share best practices and kind of set up their agenda for the year, including the talking points for their Day on the Hill. They don't schedule their Day on the Hill until later, because they wait till NAGPS has set theirs, and then they avoid those dates. I guess a few years ago they showed up like 2 days after, and all of the members of Congress said, we just talked to you guys, we just had graduate and professional students. So they wait on that. I have also heard recently from NAGPS, and they want to know if we are going to their fall legislative day of action. I have a call with their legislative group, has a monthly call. They haven't done it for the last couple months, but they're supposed to be getting it up and going. It's my understanding they're going to do the same two issues that they did last year. If that's true, I don't know that it's worth our time or effort to go do that, but I'm definitely open to suggestions. And if anybody's interested in going and participating in that, it's a much larger group. I mean, I don't know how many members NAGPS has, but probably a couple hundred. And a lot of schools are there. Almost probably 35 states are represented.
And where is the meeting?
It'll be their Legislative Advocacy and Action Day, so they call it their LAD, and it's in Washington, D.C.
One day or?
It is several days, and let me pull up my calendar.
Is it the September one?
Yes, September 29th through October 3rd.
Wow.
Yeah, and usually the first night of those events, and I assume this is true for Sage as well, is usually a meet and greet or dinner, because they know that everybody has to travel there, so they don't, start early that
Yeah.
morning.
So we can skip one day.
Yeah, if you can't get there until the next morning, but one of the difficulties about traveling out of Tucson is there aren't a ton of flight choices. So I looked yesterday just into how much flights would be to Pittsburgh, and the prices aren't terrible, but the times are. So that's something people will have to consider.
I think for those two groups, we send two different groups to each of those. Right, because there's I gave you a list of 4, I think, of 4 people.
Yeah.
And then you might want to consider adding Nick Havey to that, just because he's in higher ed, and I think he might be interested in going. We can ask him, and then you have and whoever else would be on the budget and policy group.
Yeah, and
So we can send 2 each. It would be good.
I'd also be happy to at least have other reps if they're interested in attending, even if they're on another committee. I think some of the reps really were perfectly willing to serve on, a variety of committees, and so
We can talk about this tomorrow.
if that's something they want to do, then
I can add last and fuller
Yeah,
agenda. I
yeah.
can
Let's
add this in
let's
last.
add it up and see if somebody's interested in, and then we can make a pick. Because I think September 3rd sounds like it's gonna, or September 29th. It's a little close, so I don't know if people are available then, but we can ask for sure.
and honestly, if they're going to do sexual assault and healthcare, I don't know that it's worth. I mean, when Danielle and I attended those meetings, the members' offices were like, and what do you want us to do? I mean, they're going to dismantle Obamacare. Now I think they're just going to laugh at us. I mean, if we go in and say, this is what we want, they're going to be like, yeah, so does everybody. And, students really aren't part of that conversation.
Is this the same as the one in January or February?
Yeah, they do 2
Yeah.
legislative days.
But it's the same,
I know.
like, items that they're
Yes.
advocating. Okay.
That's my understanding because they have their elections in November 3rd at their annual conference in New York. And so they have the same legislative affairs director who's also the president of ASU. And I think these are her 2 issues.
And they've done that already last year?
Yeah, that's what they did in the spring. And it was not particularly meaningful, in my opinion. And I think Sage will talk about student loans for sure, as well as a couple other issues, probably F1 visas. And then that's part of what we'll do at the fall summit, but I also want to get some ideas about what we're curious about, because they really do a lot of kind of informal. We can just call up a school and talk to them about different issues. So if there are issues that we hear about on committees and things, we should utilize them and utilize the policy committee to kind of do the legwork and find out what some best practices are, because I think it's hard to advocate when we want to change but we don't know how to change it or what works. But if we have some evidence of what works at other schools, we can put together a good agenda. And
I think that'd be a good chance to talk about grant programs too, like what grant programs they offer and how do they run their programs.
well, so the interesting part is they don't. Very few of them do. Their budgets are tiny, like $25,000. None of their officers get paid. None of their reps get paid. They don't have any support staff. They don't do grants. When I said the size of our budget, they were like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?" Like, I think the second biggest, not counting the California schools because they are their own beast, I think the second biggest to us is like 600,000, and they do like 100,000 in travel and research grants.
Okay.
But that might be an opportunity for us to to
Mhm.
share our best practices and how we run the programs, and have increased funding and how we've navigated that, because I think a lot of schools would love to offer that, and they're nowhere near. Sage does not charge a $200 fee, which is in our budget. I believe maybe NAGPS does, so I'm trying to figure out if that's true, but we'll leave it in there for now because I think NAGPS does.
We could have $200 more. Yay.
Yeah. And it might be, since they don't charge, they do look for support sometimes for printing the leave behinds for members of Congress and things like that. So we might want to consider contributing, especially since they have $25,000 for, you know, the University of, that's Michigan who has $25,000, by the way. Unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Their tuition is so high too, apparently.
Okay, so that's all I have for policy, and we don't really talk so much about finance, but budget's on here separately, so we can move on to appropriations.
Yes, we'll have the first committee meeting tomorrow before the GC meeting, and we'll talk mostly, it's going to be about the agenda, but we also got some sample applications from the pilot round from Janelle, so we asked the committee members to look at those before the meeting, to look at the new judging process and to judge it themselves, so we can have a discussion about how it was judged during the pilot round, but also how we evaluated and what that new evaluation and scoring system looks like. With the club and POD grants, I think that you brought that up before at a meeting, but we thought that it was unnecessary to hire an administrator, and we have asked Charlotte if she would take on the responsibility of also being in charge of that program together with REAP, and she agreed to do that.
Yeah, and we're gonna vote on that tomorrow, right? About whether or not to hire a person.
Yeah. And then last week we had a meeting with Charlotte, Janelle, Megan, Carol, Claudia, and Dr. Gaskin, and discussed a couple of things about the grants program. Programs, one thing we discussed was the deadlines for the applications. So travel grants remains at the first of each month, and then REAP and POD club are both on the 15th of the month. And we also discussed to set only one deadline for when the money had to be spent, so not have different ones for travel and then REAP, but to have all of them as the deadline for all of them to be June 15th at the end of the fiscal year. Then the application rounds changed for club and POD and REAP grants. There are 5 application rounds now. We have October, November, February, March, and April. So the January round was taken out. And as I said, that was both for REAP and POD. We also discussed some of the things that we could add to the application to help with the funding too. One thing we had also previously discussed over the summer with you, Jesse, was to add the option of partial funding to the applications, where students could check a box or something answering the question, will partial funding be okay? So they wouldn't get the whole amount of money that they request, and we had discussed that maybe adding a prioritized budget would be good in that case, so they could tell us what they would really need to be covered by the partial funding. We also discussed the option, or that if meals are provided for the travel grants, if meals are provided by the conference or at the hotel, that will add something in the applications to ask students that if meals are provided, they remove them from the requested funding from the per diem. But we thought it was maybe a little too hard to make that a hard requirement, because we would have to check that from the conference websites as well as the hotel websites if that really was the case. And so we just put it, or would like to put it on there as an honors-based thing, that they do that. We also discussed the approval. So if the general council should approve all the appropriations. So in the past, they have approved or are approving the REAP grants, and one point of discussion was if they should also approve the travel grants that were recommended for funding. And we thought that should be something we could discuss in the meeting with the with the grants committee, but then also bring up as a discussion at the GC meeting. In terms of the appeals process, we discussed whether or not to get rid of it completely or what to do. And one idea that we came up with was that after they submitted an application for the first time, they shouldn't have the option to appeal yet, but that they should submit the application a second time, and if they didn't get it after the second time, they get the chance for an appeal. So you have to have submitted the application at least 2 times before being able to appeal it.
Yeah, and with REAP, it would be that they would appeal a specific comment that they got, and I think with travel, we're allowing them if they get within 2 points of the cutoff grade to allow for an appeal, and they would submit a letter explaining why they believe that they should get it and why they believe that score or that comment was wrong.
Yeah.
And then
rather than completely rejecting it again.
Yeah, and then the committee would judge that and see if it's valid and make a recommendation.
Yeah. One thing that was also discussed in terms of the appeals was that there could be potentially an appeals form that could be posted to the website to make it a little bit easier to handle the appeals, like a Google form that students submit for the appeals. And then we also discussed the funding or award distribution, how to avoid overspending. We had 3 different ideas, either partial funding, so split similar scores at a cutoff score, to have a cutoff score option or to have a cushion option. I think this still remains an item of discussion for the future, potentially first in the grants committee, and then maybe over time we can come up with a solution for that.
You said that we're going to discuss tomorrow if the general council should approve travel grants as well. Do you kind of have a pros and cons list, or a what are the benefits to doing that? What are the drawbacks to doing that? I don't think I really understand why that difference exists, and I've talked to him a little bit about it. So is there information that we have available for the council members? Because otherwise I feel like...
I think the main drawback would typically be the time frame, right? So if we don't get the scores in time, or we don't schedule the meetings in time, then there's going to be a wait time for those grants to be approved by the GC. So therefore the funding could be delayed, and students can complain. That would be a con. I don't really know any other cons to it besides that. I mean, we talked about just having it as a consent agenda, right? So you just bring it up as a recommendation, and just so people know what's going on. I mean, that's what we're going to do anyways. Like, we're going to have to bring it up to general council to inform them how much money we're spending, where the money's coming from, how many applications are we accepting, what the cutoff is. So I don't know. Were there any other cons that I'm forgetting about?
I think those are the biggest ones we discussed.
Yeah.
The biggest one was the timing.
Yeah.
And then just the time it would take to, in the general council meeting, to go through every single application.
Yeah. I don't think the plan was ever to go through every single application. I think the plan was always to do some sort of consent agenda kind of approval.
But I think the disbursement was the other big.
Yeah,
I think just making sure that everyone's okay with, like, once the award list is created, for that to be dispersed. Unless people think that there would be, like, people would be like, no, I don't want to fund this person, or we shouldn't fund right now for some reason, which shouldn't happen until closer to the end of the year anyway, and hopefully we have some solid solutions by that time.
And would we put the student's name on there?
Technically, that's what REAP does. I think they send out like an award list with the name and the amount that they're receiving.
Yeah, because that could potentially be problematic.
Conflict of interest, yeah.
You know, as opposed to
I don't think
this
we
is the number of
should,
awards,
yeah.
these are the amounts, and you know, and I don't know how to do that.
I think
Maybe just like the first and like their initials, something like that. So
I like it anonymous
link
and
to
just
people?
have if we can have a spreadsheet of whatever data, right? It could be like where they're going, how much they're getting. And
Yeah,
sort of
probably
like in
conference
total.
title and like
Yeah.
the amount that they're awarded.
Something like that. Whatever we can use instead of names. I don't think names is a good idea.
Yeah.
For sure.
So then, I mean, are we just essentially saying this is how much we're spending out of that budget?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
we just need an approval for
Yep.
this amount?
Yep.
Okay.
Just so that.
and probably total awards. You know, like did we do 50 awards for that amount or 20
Yeah.
awards? You know, because not everybody asks for maximum funding. Most people do, but
Yeah, it would
not
be
everybody
about.
does. And if we do partial funding, that might be a case where you know we'd have a varied amount of awards. So I think that's always something that we track anyway for like the end of the year report. How many, how
So-
much.
Yeah. Do you know what the reasons are that people don't want to want to have it approved by GC before the money is dispersed?
I think you had mentioned that it's partly a timing issue. I would think too, based on how many we get, if we do get behind on travel grants, then there's just going to be a massive flood of emails regarding, well, when am I going to find out about this?
But is general counsel against doing?
I think general counsel is for it. I did
okay.
a straw poll a couple months ago, like a month ago,
Okay.
and it was sort of like you're like, yeah, why not?
Okay.
You're like, why not?
So there was no strong.
We'll
feelings
take
one way or
why
the
not.
other.
That's fine.
There was no strong feelings. It was just
Okay. Cool. Yeah. No, that makes it super easy and gives you more time to talk about things that are actually important.
Okay. Any more from grants committee?
No, I think that's it.
No, yeah.
You guys have done a lot. Very good. And thank you for doing that. So, let me get back to my agenda.
Proposed changes for.
Okay, yeah, so I sent out those
First
documents.
governing doc?
Governing docs, yes.
Wait, Marie, can you pass my backpack over there? My mom's out of power.
So I think that our original
Down there.
plan to have governing docs be an ad hoc committee could have some huge problems. Namely, if everyone is a member, quorum is going to be difficult. So,
Do we need to have quorum for committee meetings?
if we have to follow Arizona open meeting laws, then yeah, they have to have the same notice, same quorum rules.
Okay.
But are you voting on things during committee meetings? That would just be for votes, right? I mean, if you're just discussing, like governing docs should be approved by general council anyway, right?
Yeah, I guess I would just think the committee would vote to send it to general council, because otherwise, you know,
Oh,
if
okay, I
10
see what
people
you're
show
saying.
up and everybody has a different opinion,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
what do we take? All of them? If so, that'll be a nightmare. Or, you know,
Right. You're right.
and I don't want to be in a position where it's like, oh, I picked what
Mm-hmm.
I thought was important, and the rest of the committee just kind of, you know, spun their wheels. So that could be a problem for that, because if it's an ad hoc voluntary committee, I don't think we're going to get, you know, 50% plus one
Yeah. I don't
for
think.
governing docs.
I think we have that issue with all the committees, sort of, too. I mean, technically, we have two that are joining us tomorrow that are going to join us via Skype.
So how many people are on your committee?
3 other people besides that?
4 other.
4.
I just added Vishnu because he said he wanted to be on here, but he's not in town. So we have 5. 3 of them are not in town.
Okay, so you have 5 others other than you
Yeah.
2, or 5 total?
5 others.
Okay, so you have 7 total people. So you have to have 4. I don't know how that works if I'm on each committee. I mean, I guess that makes it 8.
Well, and I think too, like Arizona open meeting laws are like you all wouldn't be. I mean, grants might be a little bit different, but as long as it's like recommendations to general counsel, I don't know. You're not changing policy within your small groups. You know, the open meeting laws are supposed to encourage dialogue and make sure that it's transparent. I think as long as you're trying to do that to the best of your ability, that even if there is a suit for some reason that's filed against GPSC for a specific committee, as long as you're doing it in like your best way, you know. I mean, I guess that's a question for Janice too. Janice is the open meeting law.
Because
So
open meeting
person.
laws say that all the committees
if
or all the subgroups under, you know, an organization that has to follow Arizona open meeting laws, those are all subject to it as well.
So if we get enough of us to show up that first governing docs meeting, could we get that changed and then put it into the governing docs where we can have an ad hoc committee that doesn't need, like, figure that out? Because we can probably get e-board and plus, you know, a handful of reps to show up. Right now we have 15.
Well, and right now there's
15
no one
reps.
assigned to the committee.
Yeah.
So
I'm saying right now we have 15. If we get e-board and like maybe 3 or 4 others to show up, we'll have 10. We can have 10, and that would be quorum with 15 reps, and then we can get something changed, like that day we meet for that specific issue, and then we can bring it up for a vote. At that point, we would have quorum.
Well, I was thinking we might have
Right.
GC change it and say assign committee members, and so that way we had a group of
Yeah.
5 or 10, and I don't want to pull them away from the other committees. I don't know how many people have a conflict with different aspects, but I know in the past they've said if you do other things, we can kind of, you know, forgive if you miss more than one meeting.
Yeah.
So that might be an option if they can't come to orientation, but they want to, you know, participate in that. If getting here is a challenge, you know, they can do a lot of that kind of research and suggesting anytime, anywhere.
Make sure I understand correctly. Currently, the governing docs is kind of an ad hoc committee. You're proposing going to general counsel and making it a full committee and assigning reps to serve on it?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if we have enough reps to fill all 4 committees.
Well, previously we had 7 committees, so I know that we have such a few number of reps. So I mean,
If we assign reps, right, to that committee, let's say we assign a few reps, right, and they can also serve on other committees too. We're still going to allow anybody who wants to go to those committee meetings to go.
yeah,
Okay, so it's just for quorum purposes that we would.
and then
have-
voting. I mean, they could come.
Are we only saying that only people who are assigned to that committee will be able to vote?
I mean, yeah, that's
Okay. Then
that's kind of the thing, like with quorum, and you know what I mean, like.
I'm gonna email Janice right now and ask if she knows, because I'm almost certain this came up last year when they did the presentation on open meeting laws with ASUA and GPSC. So I will copy everyone on it,
Okay.
and then we'll see what she says.
Yeah, so that has been one of my hang-ups with how to do this. I was also wondering if we might put an invitation out to general counsel and executive board members be on it, and then any members of general counsel who want to be on it, and then say, you are also welcome to come and participate in that conversation. We can't change the bylaws at this, at a grants committee or a governing doc committee. Anyway, we can just vote to propose that it goes to general council. So if they have, strong opinion on the matter, they will have an opportunity to be part of that vote and part of that discussion, obviously as a member of general council. But that would at least give us a core group, and then anybody who wanted to do it.
I think that was.
I don't think a ton of people are going to leave their current committees to come to governing docs.
I think that was one of the issues last year, though. A lot of these recommendations came to the general council, and I don't think there was a complete consensus on why. Like when we'd get it and we'd be like, why is this here? Why are we talking about this? And then it's something that the committee has decided on. I just hope we don't get too many of those. If you don't allow like other members to vote, like non-committee members.
Well, then then it kind of comes to us that if we find ourselves in that situation, we need to examine what we are taking to them and have a definitive argument. This is why we are making the suggestion. With hard examples of like, when we have it this way, this is the loophole, and there's a lot of those that exist. And I also think to kind of do it in batches, so it's not one little change here and there, and it seems to just be all the time. So that feeling did exist of, why are we talking about this? What is the purpose of this? Where if we kind of put a package together, and then have the ability to articulate why those changes are important. And I think anybody who reads our governing docs will be on board for some changes. So that's my update on governing docs. Is I don't think I had thought that all the way through when we talked about the committees earlier. In my defense, I wasn't prepared to do that. It was just so that we have
You
seven
did suggest
of us.
it.
Well,
It was your
7
suggestion.
of us, and if there were going to be 3 committees, it made sense in my mind, but I didn't think it all the way through.
Well, there's 6 of us in 7 committees. I think that was the issue to begin with.
Correct. I said that backwards.
Which is why we
Yes.
decided to combine them.
Which is another governing doc thing, because our governing docs say we have 7 committees. So we need to
Yeah, there's lots of
get
changes.
governing
we need
docs to
make.
meet, so we can do that. Okay, so do we have a plan? Are we going to talk to the general council about this tomorrow?
Wait, I have an idea about that. Why don't we have EB as the standing committee, as the voting members of that committee?
I'm fine with that, and we assign the committee, so
Yeah, we have that. We have the EB as a standing member of those committees. Everybody can show up. Anybody will show up to those meetings. EB votes, right? There's 7 of us that can vote on it. They can make recommendations, and then we'll bring them to the general council.
that works well for me.
Yeah.
I think if we communicate to the general council, but if they have any concerns, questions, bring it to the committee, email me, talk to me, bring it up, and we will put it on our agenda to meet, and we will meet as needed to deal with it until we can kind of.
Yeah, and then
iron
one
some
nice
of
thing
stuff
about
out.
that is because we're each part of a specific section that we know what would need to be changed and what. So.
Yeah, kind of have like you're the master of the domain of this, because that's what you will be working with and kind of understand.
But should we still maybe open it up to the GC that if anybody wants to be on that committee, they can be a committee member?
I would say
Or
just
attending.
I would say everybody can attend, and then they would also have their voice heard.
So what's the difference between that and just having an executive board meeting and including
That's
that
what
stuff
I'm-
on the agenda?
It's just focused on governing docs.
Because honestly,
100%.
governing docs is going
So
to take a
basically it's
long
just another
time.
meeting.
Yeah.
I'm just
And I think what we can do is we can craft what we want to look at,
Mhm.
and then if everybody really will look at it, come up with their notes and suggestions, hopefully we can tackle a lot of it. And if it's going to be the executive board, we can always tack it on at the beginning
Yeah.
or end. Yeah, I just know that the executive board usually takes up the full time, and I don't know there's a ton of time to do that. But that is
And would
that
that
is
be
noted.
would that be okay with the open meeting laws? If we just tag a committee onto
We'd have to announce
the
it,
executive board?
just like you guys were doing
Yeah.
for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You'll just announce it that this is happening. So if
Okay.
somebody wants to,
Mhm.
show up at 8 o'clock, if we did it afterward, then they would know at that point. Executive board is not meeting. Governing docs is meeting. Okay. Do we need to vote on that? Or do we just
I think
assign
that's
those, don't we?
something we're taking
Yeah.
to the council anyways.
Yeah, we're just coming up with ideas. I mean, it's an idea. We don't have to take it. We just
Yeah, but I think that
throwing around
we
ideas.
assign internal committees.
we
So
do.
I don't
Just-
know that general counsel really needs. I mean, we can update them on it, but I don't
Mhm.
know that they need to vote on it, since it's really, I think you and I
Yeah,
assign those
according to our governing docs.
according to our governing docs.
So what would we actually be voting on, whether or not to make governing docs a permanent committee rather than an ad hoc committee? Is that the?
To be honest, we never actually voted on
Mhm.
having
Did it.
3 committees to begin with.
Okay.
So
That's something
Excellent.
we need to do.
if we're gonna vote on it, then it's just a whole new vote. It's not there has not been a vote on it.
Okay, so
But would that be a governing docs change though to vote on it? Because our governing docs has 7
yes,
committees.
that's what I was going to
So
say.
you're voting
is-
to change the governing docs.
Right.
Okay.
so you
Then
can't
we
do
have
that.
to take it to GC, right?
Right. So at this point, I think we've just assigned the executive board members to
Yeah.
the general or the governing docs, and because our
Yeah.
governing docs say, well, in some places it says I do it, in some places it says Dustin does it, but we decided we would just work together, and that way,
Split
any
it
way you
up.
want to look at it, you were assigned by either the AVP, the VP, the EVP, all of the above. So y'all are assigned even more work. I'll try to bring snacks and things when we have to do governing docs. Is alcohol allowed? Can you bring alcohol?
I don't think so.
I just want to know what the rules are.
Let's stray away from that.
Okay, not
Your
at the
governing
first
docs
meeting.
are already a mess, Jesse. No.
But
I
then we can at
think-
least
well, then
blame
they
it on the
can
alcohol.
Right. I went
bit of
to
wine, right?
a distillery in Mexico that make tequilas. I bought from them. I can bring that. Very good.
She's
And they were
announcing it
saying
already.
no. They were saying it's cheap. No, there it was cheap. I just paid $25
Mhm.
for them. Then I have to check in my bag. Then I have to pay duty on that, and overall, it turns out to be.
Okay, but just to bring it back to this, so do we have to vote on that with the GC that we actually just have this 4 committees basically now?
Well, technically, we still have 7, and which is fine,
Mhm.
because each of our committees is 2 committees that we're just,
Mhm. Switch.
doing it together.
Yeah.
So
Teamwork.
technically, it's still fine.
Cooperation.
We'll just assign the EB to the governing docs. And that would be. We can make the change too.
And one of the things I suggested, or that I was thinking of suggesting, was to change that instead of having these set things to say the executive board will determine,
Mm-hmm.
the committees, the number, the,
Yeah.
whatever they want to do at the beginning, and set those. So, but
Yeah.
that's a conversation for a governing docs meeting.
For the governing docs, I know I mentioned to you, but in an advisory capacity, I'm happy to serve in an ex officio role to help out, but to not vote, just to kind of so that if you're open to that. If not, I can step back and just still be like the quote unquote advisor, so to speak. But that's totally the new committee's decision with that. But I just wanted to put it out there.
I think that'd be a good
for it,
idea, especially if you've been looking at it so extensively. We'd like to see your notes.
But that's up to the committee
Yeah.
if you want to. Just
I
want
think
to
that
put
would
it out there. So
Yeah, I think we need all the help we can get. So,
Bring in the team of lawyers.
Bring them in, start tearing this puppy. No,
Yeah,
let's not do
and
that
I, and I
yet.
don't know if ex officio counts for quorum. I'm assuming it
No.
doesn't. It doesn't. Okay.
No.
So.
So
but
if you
yeah,
can't
just-
make it, it's,
Mhm.
we,
No, but I've committed to wanting to help out with that.
Mhm.
So
yes,
if,
and we appreciate that.
yeah. So if you want it,
Yes.
sure. So.
Well, generally, like, what is the feeling that what I just proposed? Like, is it? I don't know. I think it's just Jesse and I talking right now. I don't know if anybody's
Well, we did the assigning, man.
has.
I mean,
I think
as
to
I
some
said, I
degree.
wonder-
Yeah.
If we should still open it up to the general council to see if anybody wants to be on that committee. Because,
I mean,
I
the.
mean, I'm worried they're gonna say the same thing that Marie.
How is it not just an
Yeah.
executive board meeting sort
Yeah.
of thing? But at the same time, how do you decide then
No,
who's in and who's out? I mean,
Yeah.
it's an assignment thing, and if it's an assignment thing, then that's,
that's true.
We could find out who's interested in it.
We
And
could.
if, you know, I can't imagine a ton of people are gonna
Mhm.
be jumping.
be chomping at the bit for it. But if somebody really is interested in it,
Yeah. I mean, just because we opened it up for all the
That's-
other committees to
Yeah.
have them put in.
I mean, we're still thinking it's
Their
going to be
preference.
more of an ad hoc kind of thing,
Mhm.
like once a semester. kind
Right,
of
we're,
committee.
we're still trying to limit how often
Yeah.
these government docs are going
Yeah.
to be changing once we overhaul them, right?
Yeah. So I was just thinking in terms of having a standing committee of being for quorum purposes and for voting purposes, you know, that'd be the 7 of us would be pretty good.
maybe we could say if you want to do it in addition to your other
Yeah.
committee.
Yeah.
And so if somebody has an interest in that, you know, I want to give them a chance to do
Yeah.
it,
Mhm.
but it won't be the same work as the other committees. So I also don't want people to sign up for that one, come to a couple meetings,
Mhm.
and then bail on the other committees that will need that
Yeah.
support.
Well, they would have to come to this one because at least this one has to vote, has voting stuff we need to vote on. I mean, right? Vote to approve. Like we have to suggest it to the general council.
Yeah,
So we still need quorum for that.
yeah. But I know all of the executive board members will be there every time.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking executive
We've
board
got-
members will
we've
be
got-
there, so
we've
at
got
least have
quorum.
them. You know.
Okay. Okay, so did you guys have a chance to look over the ASU GPS Supreme Court proposed changes? And Janice was kind enough to send the track change documents, so if you got that far, you could see what was actually changed in them, and some of the reasoning.
I have not actually. Are there like big changes? I haven't.
I don't know if there are big changes, but there are mini changes.
I mean, to me, it makes sense. It looked like reasonable additions that improved on the document and on the preciseness of the document.
There were a couple, I think just when it was getting updated, a couple things got skipped, but they're not significant, so I'll put those in my comments to Janice. But they're really more edits where it says ASUA.
Okay. Has ASUA voted on these, or
I believe that they have responded. I think their president responded and said this is fine. These changes are fine.
That is correct. He did.
But I don't think that ASUA
okay?
as a group necessarily voted on it. I just wanted to make sure everybody had an opportunity to look at these and see, because the court's fairly new to us. And so I think it's important to make sure that whatever we think we're getting, whatever we want, that we kind of, speak now. I don't forever hold our peace, but that we take the opportunity to give feedback, because I don't want to get in a position where it's not until we're utilizing this that people go, oh, hey, this isn't right. This should, because at that point it gets hairy. So,
I mean, I know they talked about it extensively last year in the EB meetings. Although I don't know if you were there for that one. that particular EB meeting, that they really talked about it with Janice.
I don't think I was.
Yeah, so I like that's the thing. I don't know a lot of the rationale. I'm sure that most of these are going to be based on what happened last year, or certain things. So there's just minor changes that they made, right?
Yeah, we talked to Janice a little bit about it today. She said a lot of it was just like making sure that things made like, if in the rules it says these are the these are the rules for this for an advisory committee opinion, that in the form for advisory opinion that was like mirrored, and I think they found some discrepancies on that. And then the major changes she talked about was that they have the right in an elections dispute to say that they're not going to do a hearing, that like the justices can just collectively make a decision, but it has to be unanimous. Like all the justices need to say like a hearing is not needed in order for a hearing not to take place. So even if one of them is like, no, I think we need to hear this, because if it gets to that point, they'll ask for like literally all of the documentation and like the evidence basically. So then they take that and make a decision off that. So if they feel like the evidence is good enough, then it's good. Janice is also happy to come to the general council meeting tomorrow. We talked to her to answer questions fully on the general council. If you all think that might be too soon,
did they get those, Jesse?
No, I just sent it to executive board.
We can wait. So,
which, and I mean, it might be a good idea to have general counsel weigh in on it. I also don't want to bog it down and make it some huge process. If we don't have any serious objections, if we do, we might want to talk to them about, hey, this is what we're thinking. Make sure we're all on the same page. And honestly, a question for Janice would be, if we do have any objections, what does that mean? I mean, I don't think it necessarily means it gets changed. If ASUA has already agreed to it, and this is kind of, the rules of the court, that we can't just come in here and say, we want to change.
It may be a good idea if you do have questions as to why a particular change is to ask, so that but just know that, Matt from ASUA has pretty much said they look fine. They pretty much look fine to me, and I think they're looking at not having two completely different processes. I think that's something that Janice had mentioned, was it's only one court, it's 5 judges, and they're students too on law review. They're they're kind of doing other things as well. So they're looking at, okay, so what are fair and equitable processes for both, and just making just small little tweaks, like you said, with the forms and stuff. So it's not like they're like, we don't hear your concerns, I think. But if you did have questions, I mean, we could easily take them to Janice, and if it's too early to have Janice come to a meeting tomorrow, we could relay the questions back to her. She was open with us today. She's like, got questions, write them down, let me know. So.
Yeah, she's always happy to come to meetings too, and I think it would be good eventually, so that your general council members know how to use Supreme Court if needed for whatever reason.
So it would be okay if she came to maybe the August 31st general council meeting, or like how's the approval of these, or how?
Yeah, Matt, I know Senate needs to approve it on ASUA's side, so Matt says yes, but.
The Senate does need to approve it? Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure, kind of from Janice's email, if it was, hey, look over it, let me know, or if, actually, it does say that at the end of her email, and then when we could have people vote on it. So, a couple of the questions that I had was in Rule 5 in the evidence, B, the Chief Justice shall resolve all evidentiary issues unless the Chief Justice has not taken the evidence course, in which case the Chief Justice shall delegate the responsibility to the most senior justice that has taken the evidence course. They're a small group. What if nobody has? I mean, if the Chief Justice hasn't, who's to say anybody has? And then what would happen? And I guess my suggestion would be, why not make that a requirement for the Chief Justice? That you have to have that, since that's really a major component of how they make their determination. And so might be good to have.
I mean, I think it's so it's
Make
five.
sure somebody knows.
Law school's 3 years, right? And is the Chief Justice 2-year term, or is it just they're all 1-year terms?
I think they're all
They're
1
all-
years.
I thought Janice had mentioned that they can serve their term as long as they're in law school. That's a question we had to ask again. to
Yeah, I think
clarify.
they can serve their term as long as they're,
As long as they're enrolled,
yeah.
Okay.
actively enrolled in law
But-
school.
It can't be an L1 student, I know that for sure.
I
Yeah.
think that's true, yeah.
And
So
They have to be continuing.
my guess is that they're never going to have a Chief Justice that hasn't taken that, so maybe they just need to change the language to be like, they have to. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Instead of being like, the Chief Justice must have taken this course, and like that's just it. Because I'm going to guess that
Yeah.
they probably have.
Yeah, and that's not a change either. So it was written. In
It's
the-
just more like
previously.
language.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, that's
Okay.
not a change that was made. That was just
Yeah.
something that caught my attention. And then at the end of the document, it says that ASUA Senate will approve it. I can't find it now. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Anybody read it?
No, I haven't looked at this document at all, or any of the 3.
Word search is good for something. Maybe it's in the other form. But my question on that is that an oversight that if it's now a joint
Mhm.
court that it's both, or is that really supposed to be ASUA? Which is more my assumption is it's probably just didn't get edited
Yeah.
all the way through, but that was the other thing, and I'm not even sure where it is right now. So, if anybody has any other things, I can include it in my response to Janice. If you'd like a little bit more time to look over it.
Yeah, I think that would be good. I think we can even bring it up tomorrow and just say, hey, this is a document, look over it, and then if you have any questions, just email you, and then we can email Janice, and then have her respond by the next GC meeting,
Yeah,
or show up to the next GC meeting.
yeah, it would be. I'm sure she'd be happy to show up. The other thing with this, then too, I think, is that I don't know that Supreme Court would function until these changes are approved for GPSC, which probably isn't going to be an issue anyway because
Mhm.
it's 2 weeks in school.
Yeah.
But, I guess just kind of a heads up on that. But definitely would need to be like approved at that meeting.
Yeah.
So if people have questions, they need to
Yeah.
tell Janice like before that
Yeah.
because he'll probably have a special election. I think this
Yeah.
semester,
It looks
right?
like we will.
Yeah,
So
because we're gonna have. I mean,
So-
we
yeah,
have
yeah.
open seats.
So
So.
I think.
Um,
So that it's just it needs to be like speedy.
Mhm.
Okay, so if we wanted to utilize the Supreme Court, let's say next week,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously this won't be finalized by then, would they operate under the old rules like they did last year, or would they not be able to operate at all?
I don't know.
Okay.
And I guess that's why I'm like these changes need to happen probably sooner than later.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, and it's something I think that we want to get out of the way. And then I also sent an email a while ago saying there will be 2 people serving on the hiring committee or selection committee
Mhm.
for these folks. I'm one of them, and
When is that?
somebody else will. I have a whole schedule for a proposed timeline, which I can email out to everyone.
Because I mean, since I wasn't here this summer to help with any of the hiring, I would be willing.
Well, and on that note, Dustin has been a rock star organizing all the hiring and interviews, and it has been a process, and he has carried the weight on that, and I really appreciate it. So, and that's also great that you're willing to do that. And I do have a list of,
Okay, yeah.
because it's
email
the
it
clerk
to-
of the
and-
court and for an associate justice there too. And there are several dates, but I don't think it'll be a ton of time
Okay.
for those. I honestly don't know how many applicants they'll get and how many they'll interview, so that makes a huge difference. But it's great that we have an opportunity to participate in that, so that would be great. And I will email the dates, and I'll send them to everybody. So if you're not able to and somebody else is, or if somebody else really wants to, and they can let me know, and then we can because I know Marie's just itching for another series of meetings.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't mind being part of that at all. It just depends on.
Well, yeah,
and
and
everything. It's hairy.
Yeah, you helped out with the events director hiring, so you've done a bit of that already, and I appreciate that as well. Okay, so look these over. I'll send out the email with the dates. We'll get all of that hashed out, and we will make sure it gets on the agenda for the 31st.
Yes.
And we will invite Janice to come and answer any questions, and maybe even give a little bit of an overview just of the court, since we're fairly new council and the court is fairly new for GPSC. I think that would be beneficial. Okay, so back to the agenda. Yeah, engaging reps, constituents, and staff. There are a whole bunch of kind of items. There are more suggestions than we necessarily need to do each of these. We've already discussed the Robert's Rules of Order training. But just out of curiosity, how many of you would be interested in attending that?
Oh,
okay.
I would, yeah.
Okay. And like I said earlier, I'll send out that email, but for...
Do you want me to? I can send it out if you want me. If
Yeah,
you want me to coordinate it.
That would be
take
awesome.
Take one thing off your plate.
That would be awesome.
Oh.
So GPSC representative orientation, so not the orientation we do for everybody, but how do we kind of get everybody acclimated to GPSC and all the different components, internal committees, external committees, governing docs, parliamentary procedure, all that good stuff. They've done like an orientation retreat, half day type thing in the past. Last year, 3 people attended, 2 reps and me.
That's why I gave people the packet in the beginning, and then I would give it to whoever's new as well, because I think that would, and then if they had questions, they would just refer to me, and then if we have this Robert Rules of Order training, I think if we invite everybody as well, that would be great. I think what's most interesting would be a team building event for the GC.
I feel good about that.
And I think we should include it with the directors and admins when we hire them. And my thinking is I really like having some sort of competition, because I think that's always a good way to do team building. I was thinking of some ideas, but I think one that kind of might work is if we do like a billiards tournament.
You just want to say billiards.
I'm sitting here, I don't even know how to play billiards.
I mean,
it's like having to be one.
Because if you want to do something like athletic, that you're not going to get people to turn up, you know. So I think something that's competitive but not athletic. If you do like video games or board games, then it's too, you know, too small, and it's also too involved. I always like to do poker, but then poker doesn't really work because everybody's always intense when they play poker anyway, so that's not really a good way to
make friends.
Yeah. We could do like
who's good at bullshitting.
Karaoke. If you don't want to do a competition. Karaoke night with GPSC, kind of for we can always do like a karaoke for EB too instead. Like something on a smaller scale. I was just thinking, because billiards works if you want to do a tournament, you team up, we get a few tables, right, for a few hours. You run, you know, do a tournament style, so you have brackets and everything, and then you know you play each other, so everybody's meeting each other. So that's sometimes it works.
I'm good with that, and I'm good with karaoke, and I'm good if we want to do a few different things. So if somebody's going, man, I really don't want to do that,
I think
You
karaoke
know.
works better with a smaller group. So if you guys want to
We
do
are a
that.
small group. We've got 15.
Well, 15 is a little big for a karaoke event.
Don't worry,
I'm
not all of us
thinking
are
like
going to take
7.
the mic.
I'm thinking like 7.
I will cheer you on though. I promise.
But I would say like for like the rep one, we can invite the director admin, so that's another 5 or 6 other people to show up to that. So we could have 20 something.
But whatever the event is, I think you're right that idea of it being a little bit more of a social event, team building.
We can go
seems like
hiking.
a good idea.
Although a 15-person hike isn't, you don't really socialize too much, especially if you're hiking like Sabino Canyon where it's pretty narrow most of the time.
Yeah.
There's a new Topgolf facility opening in Marana.
Yeah? Well, when is it open though?
In the fall.
It's
I don't know what
Topgolf. It's like a driving range, but like you score points depending on where you hit it to.
Oh.
But it's like for everyone. Like they have it even if you like flub it off. There's like you can get points for like just flubbing
So
it off.
is it basically like skeet ball meets golf?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. But
That's a business idea.
They have-
It's like bowling and a driving range combined.
Okay.
Yeah. There's like a screen. I just played recently.
Okay,
it's
that
kind of
sounds
expensive though. That's the issue.
Not if you go before noon.
In Tucson heat.
I know.
Don't worry about prepping for comps. Just go out there.
We can maybe plan
I
a
thought about
before noon event in
Yeah.
like November.
There you go.
I thought about
To
doing
continue
like.
team building. Saturday or something.
Saturday, okay, on the weekend.
Well, I thought you said you wanted to do it sooner rather than later.
Well, I
for
want to
the-
do mini team building events. I
Okay.
want to build the team and then just keep building the team until we're all.
Well, we're having
best
standing trivia
buds.
night. We should do
Over
trivia
the
night,
Empire
right?
State Building.
We should do that. I thought about bowling, but bowling is also your small group. Your groups of 4. You don't really rotate too much.
Well, if you do multiple games and have people switch it
Yeah,
up
you'd have to
into
rotate.
different lanes, yeah. I mean, there's a way.
That would work too.
Are there escape rooms around here?
Yes, there's one
Oh,
on
There
you.
my
is an
God.
escape room.
There's no better team building than
I've-
escape.
I've never done
I've
that
never done
before,
that.
but that would
There
be.
are. There's some good escape rooms around
Yeah,
here.
that
There's
may
one
be
of
an
our
option.
friends.
I would just warn
Yeah.
people if you're like claustrophobic. It's not like claustrophobic, but if you're
No, but you're kind of stuck in a room.
if you're there's ways to get as long as there's a way like I can't do this and I can get out, then that's one hell of a team builder is.
I thought you were gonna say there's ways to get out of the room, like to
Well, there
escape.
is. Find the keys.
Yeah, there's a way
No,
to get
but
out.
most of them you can get out. If
Everyone's
it's
still
necessary.
doing it.
And
whoever
there's always
signed up.
Groupons for escape rooms in Tucson.
Yeah.
There are.
If somebody wants to tell me about them or coordinate it, that's works too.
Yeah, I'll send you some links
Yeah.
of some places.
I'm not
there.
even going, and I'm excited for you.
Do they have a
It's
maximum?
another option.
Do they have a
I mean,
maximum?
Right now we're talking some
For escape rooms?
I think that
different rooms
depends on
have
the-
specific, so usually 5 to 6 is the max. I mean, that might be an EB thing.
Yeah, it sounds like
to
an
be
EB
honest.
thing.
So,
Not
so
a-
some it's up to 8 or 9,
Mhm.
you know.
I've done one where there are 2 and you split the group up into 2.
Yeah.
And it's a race.
It's a race, yeah.
And,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, and so
Then you got the competition
Then you have
part.
the competition,
Yeah.
exactly.
yeah, so I mean, but it makes
That
people
works.
think, it makes people
Yeah.
laugh.
Yeah.
And you get 2 groups, and you say you're the A group and you're the B group,
Mhm.
and you get to pick their name, pick a name, and then B group
Mhm.
should always pick the A team.
Because they're the B group.
Right.
I think whatever you can do to kind of build that camaraderie
Mhm.
will definitely help, and I think it will just carry on throughout the year. So
Yeah.
it's an awesome idea.
And I think doing something soon. So the billiards, I think, is a good idea that we could organize fairly quickly and easily,
Mhm.
and is very accessible to people because we
Yeah.
can do it very close. And I'm sure there'll be a few people who are very good at pool billiards, but for the most part, we'll just probably
That's a pretty.
hang out and
Yeah.
laugh and.
Wait, are you gonna play that as a team or
What?
billiards?
Yeah, like you pair up and then you do
Okay.
tournament style.
I can hop the ball over another
Right.
ball. I can't make it into the hole after that, but I can make it.
Like,
I was
hit
just
the
thinking it's
ball.
like there's
I
a
can do
there's
that.
a there's a
So be warned.
billiards hall that's it's fairly big. It's not too expensive. That we can we can fit 20, 30 people.
So what night, like
So do
what
that.
day of the week, what's kind of the strategy for doing this? Are we going to do a doodle poll? You going to pick a date?
I like Saturday.
Yeah, I do.
And
I mean,
I
I
like
think
Saturday
this seems
too.
like a weekend.
Yeah,
So
I like Saturday or Sunday.
Saturdays.
Maybe
are better
avoid
than-
Sunday if people have to go to church.
People go to church on Saturday too.
Do you?
I don't.
And the e- and
My-
there
my-
are
Go
some
on
that
Sunday
go in the
either.
evening.
My friend goes Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays.
Oh wow.
So
That's
A friend of mine goes Saturday evening.
I go
Saturday evening.
Sundays.
Okay. Yeah, we could do Saturday. And if you want to do sooner, like 26. Actually, I can do 26. Yeah, 26. 26. I can do 26.
Yeah, because I think it's really important that the executive board is there and excited about it. You know, like
Or we can do 26 for an EB event.
I can do the 26th.
I can do the 26th.
Me too.
Okay, so something is happening the 26th.
Sounds good.
That's awesome, Dustin.
Bear down camp tomorrow.
Okay, so back to that agenda, that pesky agenda.
So did we
Um,
cover EB retreat?
Yeah.
Strategic planning meeting?
We
Because
probably
I
should
just
have a
watched it.
strategic planning meeting. That could maybe be dedicated time at an EB meeting, but I think it's important that here pretty quickly we have a strategic planning meeting for what our goals are for each of the committees, for executive board, for general counsel. I don't have much of a plan for that, so if anybody has any suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll try to come up with something as good as a billiards tournament and bring it back to you.
Karaoke. I think
we can sing our
there's a new
strategic
play
plan.
in this place.
Choose a song that represents what you want to achieve. I like it. Okay, so
Or we can just do trivia.
Yes.
We can start that trivia group. You know, do the first one as a EB kind of.
I'm just gonna
Retreat.
warn you that might be hard with international people. Because I've done that trivia crack before, and it didn't work well for me with just American knowledge.
I went to the international students orientation, and they do a pancake trivia during their pancake breakfast. It's not really about pancakes. I mean, the questions are like, if you were in this country looking east, you could see people eating a blah blah blah, which is a pancake in this country, right? Oh my gosh, those international students put American students to shame. There were
Yeah.
multiple teams with perfect scores.
No, I just mean like other stuff like
The pop
American,
culture.
yeah,
Yeah.
pop
Yeah.
culture, American
It's not,
politics.
it's not bar
history.
trivia.
Hmm?
Like bar trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know
Yeah,
what you were
that's
thinking,
true.
but I've been in that situation before, and it's really
See,
hard.
but here's where having the executive board as a team.
We're a team.
We've
that is
all
true,
got
yeah.
the American
Hey,
knowledge,
hey.
and you guys have.
I'm
all
really
that
bad at
smart
trivia.
stuff.
I'm bad at trivia too. I never
I'm
watched
decent
television
at
or
it until I
movies,
put on the
so
spot.
I-
I'm just like
I don't. I think I get like 1 point for my team every time I go.
I
so
think
we
the
might want to
whole
consider
idea
the
would be a
name
fun thing.
ASUA as our team name. That's just a
There you
suggestion.
go.
That's just a
That's
suggestion. So when we come in dead last, we'll be like,
Oh, that ASUA.
ASUA, man, they don't know anything. Don't want to admit who we are in that atmosphere. Okay, we'll do that for an EB thing. And would that make sense doing it directly after an EB meeting and just
Well,
going?
General Ben's does the Wednesdays.
All right.
Is Trident also Wednesday? I thought we.
Trident
thought we
was one of them.
talked Is it Tuesdays or Wednesdays? I forget. Or Tuesday. But that's also possible.
And does that sound fun to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds fun to me. I think you get to know people, and
So nerdy that way, but yes, I love trivia sort of things.
we're graduate and professional students. It's like par for the course. We're supposed to be a little bit nerdy. I'm
Half
bad
of us
at
are
trivia.
international students. and-
So that'll be good. We'll have a diverse knowledge base. Because I don't know anything about like geography. They're like doing this at the pancake breakfast. I'm like,
They do
I
do a
mean,
lot of history.
everybody knows the answer, and I'm like, I can't even narrow it down, man. It's a multiple choice too. I'm like,
I'm really bad at the music section, surprisingly.
I might have some music down.
oh,
You
not
got,
me.
I've got the art stuff.
The art
so
stuff.
I've got.
I'm
my
right
half
now the
the-
politics stuff.
Half of the questions are art, so that's good.
Oh, good. There we go.
Well,
That might be useful.
okay, and I am pulling up the schedule if my computer will.
And if we're done with the EB retreat, strategic planning meetings, support staff work.
Just like, how can we incorporate them? Because last year, we never saw them, nobody knew them, and I think they fit into the committees for the most part, and I think they will be as engaged as we kind of encourage them and allow them to be. So if they have a place and we interact with them, and I think they can fold in, and we're hiring these people because we value this work that they do, and then we've also had some really great applicants, and some of the positions we've had, like several, like I wish we could hire all of them, because they're all like, they would all be assets to this organization. And so the person who's getting it, who's going to get that position, in several positions, they're like a rock star, and I want to make sure that they're part of it, and that, that they're invited to stuff, and that we know who they are, they know who we are, and when they email, that we respond. Even if it's like, hey, I got your email, I don't have anything to add. That way they at least know there's life out there.
I mean, I think we could all be a little bit better on communication for that reason. I mean, I sent the email about the Facebook page. It's more that I had something in mind. I just need to know where everybody else is at.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to respond to this. I need to know that we're on the same page. Yeah, I wasn't even sure if we decided on when executive board meetings were going to be.
There's confusion there.
Yeah, like
a few.
emails start and then they stop,
Yep.
and so I think that goes for communication altogether.
Yeah.
And I think as far as incorporating support staff, one thing that's already been mentioned is, inviting them to some of these team building, inviting them to be part of the council whenever they're able to report to the council, whenever it makes sense to.
When they are all ex officio members, and so they can be at any of the meetings and get called on by the chair of that meeting, and they should be. If they, more than likely they're not going to want to chime in on everything, but if there's something in their wheelhouse, and from my experience, there were times last year where they were, one time at the very end of the year, they were talking about the value that you get for going to these national events and advocacy, and there was a very long discussion, and I was never
Invited
called
to be part
on
of it.
during it, and I was like, being your legislative affairs director, I might have something to add, but just that I just wanted to include them on that list, so we make sure that we are including them, and making sure that they're part of this team, because otherwise they end up really disengaged, and some of them continue to do great work, others of them I think just kind of aren't sure what to be doing, and don't do as much as they really could, and that they have the potential to do.
Well, and I think maybe making sure that we invite them to specific meetings. I know one thing that you mentioned is that it seemed like the event director the past couple of years has just come after an event and said, here's what happened. Instead of coming and saying, here's what I'm expecting to happen, here's what my plan is, here's where the money is going, ahead of time. And so being cognizant of what's coming up and saying, hey, Patrice, we know Grad Slam is coming, can you be at such and such meeting? So specifically inviting them to meetings where we know that their voice is needed.
Well, and incorporating them on the committees as well, because like in the events director, job description says they're a member of the marketing. Legislative affairs is a member of the policy, and making sure that we're, obviously Janelle and Charlotte, and they're really good about working with the committees and they're also experienced. So the folks that we hire in particular, make sure that we're engaging with them and giving them an opportunity to be successful in their roles.
Where does the development admin fit in? Are they all three going to be part of the policy, legislative affairs? Legislative affairs and policy, and the institute director, and also because the institute director, like that's, I mean, it's all policy there,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Unless we decide, we want to do a survey about the grant program, and then they can plug in there. But I think their natural fit is for the data-driven advocacy, and how to support those goals.
Yeah.
And if one of the policy goals is to increase grant funding for REAP, then we might use that as a tool to go find information, to support that. But I think that's where they fit. The development, I don't know. I mean, I know there's so many challenges that they can't utilize Razor's Edge, which is the main fundraising software. So Megan and Carol still have to kind of do that work. I also feel like if there's not somebody in that role, that work probably will not get done. But I think that position has so many challenges. But I would say they would go there. Maybe just for lack of a better place, because that's not really. I mean, the committee does the budget and whatnot, but it's not really a fundraising committee. So I don't know if anybody has any suggestions on that. Well, honestly, we might want to have them kind of bounce around because they should be supporting the grants programs. They should be helping us get contributions for social events and working on that, and then also on the it's all connected to the budget. And
I would like to have them come. They come to one EB meeting a semester or two? It says in the job description.
2?
Okay, 2. I would like to have one of them be like the same one, so they all come at the same time, so we can just talk about those things, and that way, because they, like you said, they're all interconnected. So we can be like, oh, we're trying to do this. Institute director go, and development go, and such and such legislative affairs go. Like so they can bring ideas together as well.
Yeah.
So just have one one EB meeting dedicated to just that.
Yeah, and they did that at the not very end, but toward the very end, and it was more like a report. But at that point, the damage is done. Like you've either done it and you have a bunch to report, or you haven't.
So
but it's just an FYI as opposed to like really finding ways to work together and say. I would imagine a lot of people don't know what institute means when we say institute. But once you hear, those folks who have that passion and experience talk, it's like, I don't know, I think kind of light bulbs start going, okay, I get it, and now we have this tool, so I don't have to know how to put together a survey and about what's going to, wreck it when we take it to somebody who knows more about this than we do, because we have this person who has that experience and can help craft it, and we can just tell them where we want to get, and they can help us get there.
And we're deciding on those positions tomorrow at the GC meeting, right?
Should
the
be.
Appointments?
We should be.
So then we could probably invite them to a meeting soon to have one earlier.
Yeah, I would think
Better than later.
early to mid-October. Just that way. Oh, you mean to the GC meeting?
No, to the EB meeting.
Yeah, I was thinking like
suggest
if we do that early October, and then just kind of have people come up with ideas already, and then we can just talk about ideas about where we can utilize them this year. Kind of goals for that meeting. I think that would be great. I was thinking sort of November to begin with, but then I was like, that's kind of late. I think
so too.
To get some work done, they should start as soon as possible. But I think.
Well, and should we have them attend a meeting where they can just come and we can talk to them, and then have them come for the second meeting where we have them all come together and find ways to collaborate? Or do we want them all to come in so that way everybody kind of knows the tools, knows the people, and then we can have them come in separately and we can talk to them about specifics of their position once they have a little bit, you know, more
Yeah,
experience.
I think I like that idea better.
Yeah.
Okay, have them all come in together?
Yeah, and then they can each come in separately later, so we
Okay.
can.
I think that they should at least meet with their committee
Mhm.
first,
Mm-hmm.
so that way we can kind of just,
Yeah, that's also why like October is usually
Okay.
good.
so all support people will come to an October meeting, and do we want them all to come, or do we want to break them kind of into groups, or all, everybody?
Let's say all. I mean,
All,
I
make
mean, you
sure
have those
everyone's
the three main ones, right? Legislative affairs, not elections director, institute director, and development admin. Those three, I think, would work closest together. I think web admin and the elections director probably not so much.
But
Like they
the-
probably don't work, but we can have them all come in together.
The elections director should have changes to the code by that time too.
Yeah.
That you
Mhm.
will want to
Mhm.
have, like, you should encourage them to have edits to the code by that time.
Yeah.
And I mean, the others might have suggestions for the web admin maybe, so
Of the website. Okay.
I feel like that would, because
Should the elections director be there for that? I mean, their role is really very separate
Yeah.
from that other
Mhm.
work.
Yeah, that should be
No-
yeah, that should be a separate, like,
Maybe
you'll
the
need a
meeting
full
before that.
conversation on that.
Okay.
The meeting before that, because I would say the
Well, we
special
might-
election should be mid-October, right? Aim for mid-October.
I was told by the Dean of Students office that the final numbers for enrollment come in like mid to late September. So I thought we should do it after that, so we actually know the size of the colleges. So
Yeah,
then we
but
know
yeah,
how many
October would be
seats.
after September.
Yeah, but that was the only
Yeah.
kind of like fixed date
Mhm.
that I had in mind for.
But here's the thing, though. So when we do, we can't rechange the numbers. Like we can't go through the numbers again because we've already got people in positions.
I think we have to, because if not now, when?
It would be for
For
the
the
spring. You set the numbers in spring, and then you go through the whole year with those numbers.
So it's based on, you know.
Because the law reps, for example, they're going to have three. Are they having
Two.
three? They're going to have two this year, and they're going to come in, and they're not going to be elected based on that on our elections, and same with the College of Medicine, because those are the numbers we're really most concerned with, College of Medicine numbers.
Well, like, I think
So
nursing is shortchanged a seat right now. Based on their enrollment numbers for last year, I think they should be at 3 seats and they have 2.
Okay.
I mean, I might not have the right data, but I guess I just want to make sure that, and I don't know when the council did that last and change those numbers, but I mean, that makes sense if we want to do it in the spring. I just want to have a plan for that, and
We do it every, so we get our numbers from Student Affairs Assessment, who gets it from institutional research.
that's who I was talking to, not Dean of Students, it's
Okay.
Student Affairs Assessment.
Yeah, and so their numbers come in the fall, and that's what's used as like that's what's submitted for census data for
Mhm.
the U of A. So like the seats that we changed for the elections in the spring were actually from the fall of 2016. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Because that's the numbers that
Okay.
is like used as.
And that makes sense.
here's
And we've
what it
already
is.
set those, so I mean, it
Right.
would be a pickle if a school dropped, and you know,
Right.
like if
Mhm.
if
trying to
education, for
change
example, who has all their seats filled, if their numbers were to plummet and they were to, what would we say?
Right.
You know,
You have to lose a person.
one of you has to go.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
So then I guess the enrollment data date doesn't really matter. And then I might say, why wait till October? Because then half the semester's over.
Whenever you want.
You know, maybe we would want to look at doing it earlier. I don't know.
Second or third week of September. Third week of
So,
September.
we have-
is-
I guess there's kind of some issues with that. One, like Megan said, we want the elections director to come up with changes to the elections code. That has to be approved before we do the elections, and unless we want to do that after the elections and we go by the old elections code, right? And then run that elections.
I think
You kind of want to give them a month to be acclimated to the university, so you're looking at end of September
Yes,
anyways,
and at
right?
the same time, what's the priority, having representation for a majority of the semester, or the elections director changing all of those things pronto?
Yeah, I mean, either way is fine.
Do you have an elections director? What's
Yeah, what is the 411?
sorry? Is that part of this? I don't know.
That's a tough one.
We could talk about that afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever
we
you want. I
didn't
know
have-
the last I heard was
Yeah.
Claudia was like, ooh.
Yeah, we should talk about this.
Yeah, we didn't have a ton of applicants for that one, and some scheduling challenges and
Mhm.
That came up last week, right?
things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's one that isn't as clear cut as some of the others, which is unfortunate because
Definitely want an elections director prior to the election.
yes,
Otherwise, it makes it
Megan.
real weird. Yeah, last year Chris was the elections director, so for the fall. Oh, that's what I figured. That's what I sorry. I put my hand right on my thing.
Yeah,
Okay, so
we can talk about
yeah,
that
we need to
afterwards.
get that. We need an elections director.
Yeah.
Once we have them in place, I guess we can see kind of
Yeah.
if they come in and they're ready
Mhm.
to roll. If they need a little bit of time, if they want to make a ton of changes.
Mhm.
I mean, I would agree with Marie, especially also considering the committees that once we have the reps, we can fill up the committees, and it's going to make committee work more productive, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So we will wait till the elections director on that, but that's something that. And then I think, we really also want to work with how to get the word out about that, because people don't vote, people don't run. You have to get 2 votes to be a write-in candidate, and my college cannot get a write-in candidate.
Oh my gosh,
I mean,
Hey,
that's pretty bad.
there's some work.
my friend had a hard time finding 10 people
10.
to sign. So
We're a very disjointed college. That honestly doesn't surprise me that much.
Her
But
department's really small. I think
my
there's-
department, yeah, like mine's tiny. I mean, there were
Yeah.
2 of us that started my year in my program. So I don't even know his last name. So we're running.
You're on a first name basis.
Yes. What was the name? No. Okay. So elections. We'll move on. Officer reports, and we are already over time. So
I have something.
if you have something,
Do you
we'd
want to
love
plug
hear
in
it.
the?
Oh,
Ooh, we got a video.
Got some fancy
I
technology.
can turn this on.
Is the website
Is
active?
it not plugged in? I got a feeling it's not plugged in.
Or is that still up in the air too?
I'll talk to you about that one.
Okay. Carol and
Oh,
I
here
are
it
going
is.
to go to Sausage and get trained on how to use the website, because Sausage
Oh,
has been
that
like, we don't want to make the changes for your website, so we're like, we're hiring someone, and then we're like,
Yeah, we should be good on that
Okay.
position.
Okay.
so we're gonna go. So then Carol and I will at least know.
Okay. Can you open
Okay.
up the?
Well, maybe you can train.
Yeah,
The
if
form.
specifically
If
on the
it's-
calendar, because
Right.
and I
That's
think that's like
definitely-
really the only thing that needs to
Yeah.
be.
And maybe going into
Is
edit
it in mine?
text
In
insertions
the
that's outdated.
administrative
Oh,
Like
yeah,
on
yeah,
my
yeah.
Scroll down.
Showcase, it's like 2015.
Oh, okay.
Right, so it's
Yeah.
not a
No,
big,
just scroll
we just
down.
need to be able to
Go
go in and type in 2017
Right.
with your,
Well, and I just looked at Club and Pod too, and it
No,
says
no,
that we're
sorry,
accepting
it's in,
applications in January, like
go up,
January
go up,
15th is the
scroll up.
deadline
There
of
should
both
be a
of
one
them,
called
and it's like,
meetings. There you go, meetings.
Oh, meetings.
how can I get that
Yeah.
changed?
Yeah, and I think that's
Okay, so I made.
pretty easy to learn how to go in and
I-
make
Just
those little
pick one.
changes.
It doesn't
Just
seem,
pick one.
they were like, somebody needs to come in and do this training. We were like, we're hiring somebody. And then,
When are you guys going to do that?
we're, Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I made a Google form for reps to submit their rep reports, and so they put in their name, and it's going to be a drop-down menu. Can you go to the view?
Where is
Preview?
that one?
Yeah, that one. So if you scroll down, there's a drop-down for
Yep.
their position, and then there's internal committees, and then they select
Oh,
under
that one.
responsibilities
Ooh.
what they've already achieved, and if they talked to their deans, constituents, like what is there to report from external committees, which ones are on, what is there to report, and then anything else they want to report. So I would have them do one of these once a month, just to kind of check that they're participating. Right.
Is this going to be used as part of their stipend?
Yes.
So for the met your college dean.
Yes.
I don't know if Jasmine told you, but people got really confused with that last year, and they were like, "Well, I reached out to them, but they didn't respond, so I didn't get to meet with them."
Okay.
So I think you probably want to make I attempted to contact, or I made outreach.
And maybe what we should do is say, have you met with them? And if they say no, and it hits 2 months in, one of us starts working with them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And maybe I can send an email and say, hey, we would like to come and meet with you. And then, if they're really not responding and we can't get that meeting, we obviously not going to hold it against the rep.
Right.
But maybe we can try to put some other pressure, and I can talk to, faculty senate and say, we are having no luck reaching out to these schools. Any suggestions on how to make you fools respond to us? Because, I think some of them don't respond and others take that meeting really easily. So that's something that we should then track on the back end to say, if, and maybe have you tried yet?
Yeah.
What was the response?
Right. Or just to know. I think Jasmine just knew, because people weren't even writing it. And maybe they didn't realize that was part of their stipend evaluation, and it was like, no, you should at least write, I attempted to meet with them.
Right.
They just weren't responding with, anything at all.
Yeah.
And the GPSC events you had put into the orientation package?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, these were just taken straight out. I kind of just changed the wording a little bit. But these are
Orientation's not on there?
No, I just so people know what to put here for GPSC events that they participated in.
I mean,
but orientation is its own.
I could put it on there, but then it would be worthless after the first report. After September, it doesn't matter anymore, right? So these are any of the things that they could do throughout the semester, and I want to keep track of when they do it.
Yeah.
So that's why
Cool.
I have other.
So
if you guys
maybe
want,
we just keep track of who comes to orientation and.
Yeah, that would work because
Okay.
And I mean, Patrice
we would
sent
know.
emails,
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, if you guys have any suggestions on things to add, I will have Amajad send this out every meeting.
On the GPSC event, that's one that I think there's a lot of gray area there, and what does that include? And I would like to be more inclusive to say it could be Cats at the Capitol, and maybe we could have got more people to engage in those if it counted as one of their events, as opposed to just another thing that they were being asked to do. But maybe have some running list that, hey, this is an event, these are kind of your,
the other part, I want the
your
reps
options.
to come to the first social hour if they don't come to any others. Does that count as one of their events, or is that a little bit?
I think
Could we
social
have it
hours
as
do count as events.
Okay.
I think just things that we do, right, counts as events.
and could we have a write in here so we can track it a little bit? Because do they
participate in event,
Then
which
they
one?
can check
type.
this box.
If I
So
do it with the
maybe-
Google form, I would have to do a separate
Yeah, that's what I was
question.
Well, maybe that one can be its own question then,
Yeah.
and then which GPSC events.
Because
go
I
with.
feel like otherwise it gets lost because you could just check that box.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
And then we
Could it be
don't
a
see
subgroup under
where
there?
we have the best.
I
So
don't know if I can do that, but
Okay.
I can make it a separate question.
You
and
can,
they can
so you
they
can do a section, things that,
Yeah.
and then have two sub-questions, one being the responsibilities of this month and the other being.
For sections, they separate into different pages though.
Oh, does it?
And I think having
Okay.
too many pages might be
I'm
too many
just learning
pages
the
and too many
form, so.
questions might be a problem.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you scroll up, so I made this for the form
Looks good.
that we can use.
Yeah.
If you want to open the other one, so I made another Google form. I've been making lots of Google forms apparently. So I made it for an absentee ballot. So anything that will be voted on.
Oh,
that
I
will put
love
on
it.
here. If you go into preview mode.
I made.
Oh my gosh.
I love
Oh, this one
all
doesn't-
caps.
Aye.
This one-
Nay. With enthusiasm,
Oh,
absentee
this-
balloters. I love it.
This one doesn't have different sections. But I basically said that these have to be submitted before the meeting, and that once they're submitted, they can't be changed unless somebody shows up and actually votes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't want somebody
And
going, okay, yeah, my
Yeah.
my buddy's thing lost. Let these people who didn't come
Yeah.
chime in.
So and,
Yeah, if they don't care to do it before, then
and I also wrote that it's going to be whatever is sent out previously with the agenda.
But they can
With-
still opt to have a proxy and email Amjad
Yeah.
and me and have
Yeah.
them vote at the meeting. Okay.
is there
So
any way to
I
do a
wrote-
Google form for proxies?
Yeah, actually.
Because I think
Yeah.
that would be beneficial to say, okay, if you want someone to proxy, you fill out the form.
And that would
you
actually make
say,
it easier than.
you know, I'm going to miss the meeting. Dustin is going to proxy
Yeah, it's
for
mostly
me.
just a signature page, right? This person's going to proxy for me in some sort of electronic signature. That being the electronic signature.
Well,
right?
yeah, but then also kind of on the other end, that person needs to kind of accept it because
Yeah.
they can only proxy for 2 people. So if
I don't
I've
know
already
how I would do
committed
that.
to that,
Do we email the person directly? I could
well,
do
it
that.
would be up to the person who they would proxy for, right? Like, so if all 3 of you asked me to proxy,
Mm-hmm.
that's a bad example because I'm not a rep, but in theory, I would then choose. I want to proxy for the 2 of you.
Mm-hmm.
You're out. You know, wouldn't just. I mean, more than likely, you're going to say yes to the first 2 people who ask you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But a person would have the choice since they're limited on how many people they could proxy for.
My question is, would it be how would you choose who you're proxying for? All right, if I put that Carolyn's going to proxy for me, right? How is she going to accept it? I don't know how that would work.
Is there any way that it can like email Carolyn and say like Dustin has asked you to proxy for him, accept or reject, and just put a disclaimer on there saying you can only proxy for 2 people?
Can they put in the email somehow and get an email
I don't. That's
notification that
maybe too complicated, but
that
I-
a person-
the
I don't know
proxy
if
thing
they can
came
do
up
that.
last year. If people were
Mhm.
actually proxying for
Yeah.
people, if people were just saying that, did
To
we
have
ever
something
like
definitive
follow
that we
up?
could go back to and say.
Right,
And
and
I
say
mean-
this was
and I mean-
submitted and you did it before the meeting, and so it's not halfway through and go, oh yeah, by the way, I'm proxying for.
Right. But I mean, that's why we don't have to do the form because I think we told them to email Amjad or me at one of the early meetings
Yeah.
in June, I think.
I
Yeah.
think you just need to be
So-
clear that like it
And they
needs to
could
be
always
a
email.
forwarded email from the
Yeah.
person who has accepted.
No,
Yeah.
we could talk to them again and say you need to email Amjad, Carolyn, and your proxy needs to respond and
Yeah.
accept
Yeah.
it.
I think that would be
Okay.
the only way.
Because actually, that's probably easier than doing
Okay.
the form.
That works, and I think this is awesome to
Yeah.
have the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ballot
Yes.
that is easily accessible. People
Mhm.
will know where it is,
Well, and I
and
don't know if anybody else is going to be like me, but Thursdays I've got a class that
Mm.
evening, so I'm not going to be able to go to any of the
Yeah, there's. I
general
mean, we have a
council
couple
meetings.
that are
This
out
is
of
gonna
town.
be really great
Yeah.
yeah.
to still have it.
And
say-
Amjad can have them on the screen during
Yeah.
the meeting to know which yays or nays to add.
Yeah, 'cause
I
you
mean,
can
I
just-
Well,
can
it'll
keep it
tally it
separate.
on that,
What
yeah.
I would do is I keep
Yeah.
it separately, and then I'll tell her during
Right.
the
Okay.
meetings.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it'd be too much for her to have
Yeah.
everything keep track
I mean,
of.
just to have it, because I mean that was one thing that was hard for me this summer to
Mm.
sometimes hear the numbers and be sure how many yays,
Yeah.
nays, and abstentions
we
there
were
are, and I don't.
figuring that out to some extent too.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why we are
Reminders
getting
and
some
that.
training.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm gonna have Amjad send both of these out, in every time she
Mhm.
sends out the final agenda.
That's awesome, Dustin. That's really great work. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm just so tickled by that. Hooray! Good report.
Okay. So we'll close on it. Was that
Okay.
it? That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
And I know a lot has already been covered in the committees and other conversations. So if you don't have anything, don't feel obligated to say anything. And I need to lead by example on this because I have not done it. But I'm going to start submitting written reports in advance, just with a summary of all the meetings because I go meet with a lot of people,
Mhm.
and I don't need to go over all of it in the meeting, but there will be some parts that are hopefully plug into other things you do, so you'll have that reference. And some of the conversations are pretty interesting, so kind of just put a summary on there. So if that,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll also have a record of those issues as they plug in and as committees can plug in to those meetings. Okay, so budget. We don't really have any of our
Yeah.
budget updaters.
I think Cindy said, I heard from Dr. Gaskin that Cindy's still working on getting some of the numbers from
Mm-hmm.
how much has been transferred into our accounts.
Okay.
So we don't have those final numbers yet.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, and that was kind of the piece that I
yeah.
have been most curious about. And Anand gets back tonight.
Tonight, I think.
Yes, so he'll be back and life will be good in our budget world.
Back to normal.
Back to normal. Okay, upcoming events and opportunities. We've already gone through orientation. Meet me at the rec. Do we have a plan for meet me at the rec?
Not officially. I think we're going to take. So at orientation, we're giving away 200 shirts, plus whatever volunteers take a shirt, which leaves us with a little over 300 to 350, plus whatever volunteers don't take, or not 350, I'm not good with numbers. So out of so
we'll have a
200 will be
balance
gone.
of shirts.
About 300.
Yeah.
About
300.
300. So we can take some of those to give away at Meet Me at the Rec as well. If we have a guesstimate to how many we maybe want to give away.
Is there a reason we're only giving 200 at the orientation?
Get an incentive to get people there early. So
Okay.
first 200, and also so that we're not spending $2,000 on one
Okay.
day of shirts
And then you're going to give the rest out as another.
throughout
Okay.
the year
Okay.
at a couple other events. So if we want to take 50 to 75 maybe to Meet Me at the Rec.
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody ever gone to
Grads-
meet me at the
grad
rec?
students who show up.
I've always wanted to
It's the
go.
me too.
I've always planned on going, and then something comes up.
Megan, have
So-
you ever gone?
I have not. I was in the initial planning of that, but I actually did not go.
Okay, I haven't either. And do we have a group who is going to be staffing the table?
I will plan to be there. I was already planning to be there. And then I know I was going to bring flyers for the first social as well. So if there's any other materials we want to have there to be able to give out.
Stop the
regarding
presses.
GPSC. Stop the
I have to go
presses.
back. I have to go back to President's Report. Child care grants are out now.
Okay.
Like out of money now?
No, they're available. The applications are available
That's okay.
now.
There we go.
They changed the program.
Oh, that's
They
your
did
real
not
program.
let us know. I found it online and emailed them, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, we've been meaning to talk to you."
What?
They came out
do you
July 1st.
What?
I have a document that I've been creating because their document is like 9 pages long, and you can't freaking find the application date in there. It is so confusing. So I have it, and I will send it tonight so you can post it,
Yes.
and we can email it out.
Yeah.
The big change for it, and this is exciting, $2,000 this year.
Great.
Nice.
Previously it's been $1,000. Now you can get $1,000 for fall and $1,000 for spring. That's the big one. I've got some questions for them, so when we continue this conversation, I'm going to ask them, number one, how much money do they give out? Because I don't think we've ever known that number that I know of.
Oh,
at least.
total?
Yeah.
As far as
They
I,
give out all we have.
they give out all we have. That's
They give
for
out
sure.
all we have, but they have other
more
funding.
Oh.
too, yeah.
So, and then my other question is, how much do they give to graduate and professional students? Because it better at least be $100,000,
It's,
since that's what we contribute.
I want to say in the SSF report, it'll say in our SSF report
Okay.
how much they gave out. Oh, I want to say it's like 60-40 grad undergrad.
Okay.
Technically, the SSF request is from ASUA and GPSC, but GPSC submits it.
Okay.
I think we kind of like Jude and I met with the woman over there. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Who works at Lifelong Connections? Who oversees that grant?
Okay. Yeah, and it's now called UA Child Care Choice -student. There's also a
Versus
UA
faculty?
Child Care Choice employee. And there are all sorts of rules about if this, then this, and apply for this one. And the reality is, if you can apply for employee, apply for employee.
Better.
They could have summed it up a page and a half by saying that. But they didn't.
Oh my gosh.
So, I literally just found this out and then have been trying to go through their document. They came out July 1st. Nobody knows about it. Nobody in the whole world knows that this is available. So,
I mean, that makes sense
I want them to hear it from us first.
to come out July 1st because that's the fiscal year.
Fiscal year. Yep.
But
Yeah.
when they're not advertising it and people don't,
I've never seen it advertised, so
no. I mean, besides the emails that we send out,
I've never.
and honestly, if we're giving $100,000 to them, they should be letting you know.
We're not
when
even
the
linked on their
application's
website.
available. I know.
So, yeah, I've got a number of things and I'm going to go meet with them to find out how we can support student families and talk about some other logistical things. So, but that's the news. And then I've been talking at the orientations to remind all the new graduate students they can opt out at the fee, the athletic fee.
Oh my gosh.
That's a
please,
huge success for GPSC. And I mean, I've had
It'd be
groups
a shame if
email
people
me
just
and
didn't know.
ask, does GPSC know about this? And I'm like,
I think one of the things also is where do people go to get tickets if they don't opt out for the games, right? Have you talked to Melissa about that?
I also
no, because I had to reschedule my meeting with her.
We have to. I think that should come up at some point with her or another person. Because is it like Zona Zoo? Do you follow the Zona Zoo people in, or you will call and you go to the? And how many tickets do we have?
You're saying just for GPSC?
No, for
Graduate students.
graduate students who are
pay the
paying
fee.
the fee.
Oh.
Right.
Oh. I thought it was in the North End Zone.
So
That actually sounds right.
I don't know why.
I don't know
But how?
but I believe that I've heard that as well. Maybe I heard it from you.
No, I
yeah.
I feel like those are the good
So
seats, no?
here's-
North End
But
Zone?
yeah,
Just
and
because
if you
those
pay,
new. Those are new.
okay.
But
Let me.
I mean, just that's something that we should
Yeah.
consider finding out, because that's one of the things is opt out, but some people probably do want to go to the games.
So really quickly, just so we can sum up some of these things that need to be informed and that we can help spread on social media.
Mhm.
I'm looking at fee issues. So that is the athletic fee.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was never communicated to me.
It was in the
know
email last
Because you're not
year. It shouldn't
new.
have been charged to you if
Yeah.
you're returning.
Oh, okay.
It's
So
only
you
new
have
students only.
40 years before they should.
But that's
start
kind of the
charging
thing
you
is it's only to new students, so they don't know, right? I
They
mean,
have
they're
no
just
idea. Oh, no.
figuring out
That's
100
the thing about
forms.
opt-out.
They sneak this little thing in. So if you're not aware, you don't do it.
Well, did you know that the rec fee is technically opt-out?
Yeah, but
I knew
If
that,
you have a gym membership somewhere else.
or you live a certain
Distance.
distance away. But Daniel said last year, the assembly chair last year said he opted out and got like, I'm making this number up, but like $10 back. Like you don't get the full
No, it's not.
Because the
amount.
the rec center usage is what you opt out. The health center fee you still pay, right? Like you opt out.
Yeah, but
part
the
of
rec
it.
center has 3 fees.
Yeah, you opt out on part of it. You don't opt out
No,
the full
the
thing.
fees are getting really
Yeah.
out of hand. The way that they're charging.
That's what
those.
the opt out. So that's why you get
Okay,
$10.
so it is opt-out. We also need to provide a link or some way for them to know how to get tickets if they're going to utilize it. Do I have somebody who can look? Do you know where to find that information?
I would just say talk to
I
Melissa
will.
Vito.
Yeah, and I also think I'm supposed to be meeting with the athletics
The new athletics
director.
director.
ASUA does. I mean, that's kind of more. But if they're gonna
Have you already
charge us,
hired a
we
new
should
do
one?
crap, then we need to be at that
Yeah,
table.
they
So,
hired a new one last year.
Okay.
So to be clear, some of this I'm gonna need you guys to do a little legwork and just send me the information, and I will put together the posts. Is there anything else regarding fees that students need to know about?
Besides the deferment, have you posted about the deferment?
So yeah, I just got into the. I hadn't even thought about this, but I just got into the email with Alexander Caroline. So I will put something together for that tonight. Who is Alex Karaman, by the way? Is he just
Yeah, I don't know who he is.
Megan, do you know? I have a hunch of who this. I have a theory, but I don't know for sure.
he's a PhD candidate, so
He's very adamant about these fees.
yes.
I checked.
I
the-
will disclose, he is my partner. He started the graduate student organizing committee, so he's very.
Apologies when I said that I did not know.
Oh, there's a picture of him in my office.
Megan?
So,
Oh, that's
yeah, we don't talk about GPSC stuff ever. And he got out of GPSC once I started here. So.
And he does the graduate. The
So-
group on campus. Is he part of that group?
The graduate student organizing.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's who I thought he was. Like that.
Yeah.
That's a connection
Oh,
I
he
thought.
He is in the Middle East this summer though, so he's,
Okay.
he's
So
not that active.
here's one problem I'm having understanding the deferment, because they're basically like, don't apply for this unless you need it, but who actually needs it? Because they have the and I'm wondering if this is something I need at the moment actually with, so they have the placeholder, right? Is part of the deferment, because like I'm having a problem right now because my department put in the actual GA ship material so late that all of my loans are still being held by the financial aid department because my department money hasn't kicked in
Mhm.
yet. So is that what the deferment is for? So that you
No.
can
It's-
actually
No, so it's for the fees that you have that end up on your account after like your tuition and everything has been
Okay.
paid. Like for me right now it's $418. I think
Mhm.
it's paid by units that you take.
okay.
And then if you use the deferment plan, you don't have to pay that by the 21st, I think, by the
It's
first
in
day
the-
of classes.
Yeah, you
So
postpone it
if you're
to
not
November.
using loans to pay for that or some other
exactly,
financial aid
yeah.
to pay
Yeah.
for that, you have the whole semester.
You have
Yeah.
until November,
Okay,
until like a
thank you.
certain
Yeah.
amount of weeks before the end of the semester. So especially I think for international students, it's really important because
Then
I
they can use
usually
their
don't
paychecks
have
to
the
do that.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
November 22nd, I think.
Yeah. I didn't get
Okay.
the email yet. They kicked it back for me, but I didn't
I
get
kept
an
trying
email.
to like digest and understand what
Mhm.
this was talking about exactly or how it benefited. They've given us a draft of an email. My other question is, do we just trust this email and send it out to the graduate population, and then I'll parse through this and try and get some of the.
What email did you get?
So it's from Alexander Karaman. Maybe you can tell me if I'm
I
mispronouncing
literally
like-
don't even know what the email's about.
that. Okay.
No, I think she on his name.
What?
How do you say the last name?
Oh,
Karaman.
Karaman.
Karen.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just mispronounce things pretty.
No worries.
So,
He brought up something that's interesting though. The link for the athletics fee, athletics fee opt out.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of stupid. The fact that it doesn't work with most web browsers
Mhm.
that have like blockage or like
Mhm.
ad blocks or whatever. Because I try to access it and I can't. I actually cannot access that site because I
are
have
you
so
able
many.
to copy and paste the?
No, it's just because I have so many like different like antivirus and ad blockers on my computer that
Oh,
It
because
wa-
they're using a third party.
if I'm trying to disable it, like it won't let me disable it for that site because it like links me to another site telling me to avoid it, that
Mhm.
website. I think that's really dumb. That's something we should talk to Melissa about.
So wait, this link is actually being able to use to get tickets. Is that what
To
the
get
link
to
is
the-
for?
But to get to the site where you can opt out.
Okay, because
So-
you need one for that.
Because I should be able to get to the site for tickets because I used to have Zona Zoo and they use the same site. But that link that he gave us, for some reason, that doesn't work when I log in.
I'm going to it right now because I didn't actually
I'm on
try.
it.
Yeah.
I discovered a similar issue the other day whenever I was trying to fill out a
I mean, I can,
form with parking and transportation for like a bike
I can show you.
thing, and
Oh, yeah.
you can't do it from
The bike registration thing.
yeah, you
Yeah.
can't do it from Google Chrome or from Firefox.
Yes, the parking transportation.
And I'm like, really?
Do you know that you can shower at the rec for free if you bike to work?
If you're an employee.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Only if you're an employee.
Well, technically, graduates receive the same benefits as employees and faculty at the rec center.
Yeah, I wonder if
I believe.
at least GAs and TAs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you
I'll
have an
apply and we'll see.
appointment.
We'll see what happens.
was
I could use a shower and a locker.
Yeah.
Right?
I believe my understanding.
Okay,
is
I'm gonna
that
apply.
you
We're gonna
receive
test
those
that out.
same things. Yeah.
Firsthand, I'll
See it.
keep you posted.
The same
Apply
way-
for
what is
shower.
that?
Jesse
For
needs a
graduate
shower.
Wait, I'm confused. What
Sorry, we've gone on it.
why are we
Okay.
applying for showers at the rec?
To see if we can. To see if graduate students can get that. Like,
So-
or if
so you
employee
usually have
means
to pay
benefits
extra.
eligible
what
employee.
is the shower?
If you bike to work,
Uh-huh.
you don't have to pay for a gym membership. But you can use their showers.
But as a student, you have to pay for the gym membership anyways,
Oh yeah, that's true.
right?
But you don't get a free locker.
I
Do you
didn't
get
know there was
that
a free
as an
locker
employee?
included.
You don't
Yeah.
get a. Do you get a free locker?
I think
As-
faculty does.
I mean, I use the one that you just throw a lock on, and that's your locker for the day. Are you talking about a permanent
big
locker
one
for the
is-
semester?
Yeah, yeah. Because
Okay.
if you're biking to work,
It's
if
kinda
you might
nice
want to
to
leave
have
like
extra
your hair
things
dryer and
and
deodorant
that's
there instead of like packing it like a
Okay.
mule.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I've never seen the permanent locker, so I don't really know. But
I'm
They're
gonna
on
look
the
into it.
side.
I'm gonna look into
Like,
it
they're
because
the
I'm
ones
also
that
looking
always
into
have
the
the
bike
lock in
part.
it.
So
They're in the same.
are they in the locker room, or are they
Yeah.
just the one where you walk in?
No, they're in the locker room.
Okay. Well, the
That's
locker
the
room
ones
that
you're
doesn't
talking
exist
about.
anymore.
Right,
because
they're
they-
going to be changed too. And I think GAs and faculty and staff or grads and faculty and staff, I think, are all going to use the same one. Right?
I believe that's how it's always been actually. That-
I don't
that
remember
grad-
what the changes,
faculty,
the big thing
faculty
was.
has a separate kind of facility within the rec center,
Oh.
but grads count as faculty in a way.
Right.
So
Like we can use it
that's
different.
my understanding.
There's a
Yeah, there's-
different one we can. I don't even know there's a different one.
I knew in the women's
It's
locker room,
smaller.
there's like a really small one for the rec staff. But anyway,
Anyway,
Yeah.
maybe
There's a whole
Regardless.
it's
rec
8:47.
committee. They'll come back with some good answers,
Yep.
I'm sure.
So
Go to the rec center.
Getting-
Go one.
back to this email though. It's a pretty like thorough
Yeah.
suggestion to be sent out. I would like everyone to look over it, make sure we don't need to change any wording on anything, because he definitely has basically written an email on behalf of the GPSC asking us to send that out.
If for me, I would tone it down a little bit, but
That's what I was thinking.
beyond that, I just
doesn't surprise me at all.
I would
Can
say
we
it's
just-
Can you
fine.
just take a friendlier tone?
Yeah.
Well, I
would
think the language comes, well, I don't know. I haven't gone through it line by line, but the graduate college has information. So maybe we can,
It was.
and that might be
yeah,
the same
your-
information,
your,
just that
your
he's
secretary
added.
account.
Oh,
Well, I think he's trying
Stuff
to
too.
distill all of these various things that are changing
Mhm.
so that students are aware,
Mm-hmm.
because I know a lot aren't.
Mhm.
So my thought is for now, I want to focus on the deferment and let students know about the deferment since that's
Right.
an upcoming deadline.
Right.
But I don't think it's a bad idea to try and provide students with some of these other things as well. If
I-
we wanted to draft some kind of an email to send out, or include these in kind of more of a bullet point, because I think if we're gonna do a bullet point, it even needs to be sharper than this, where it's just really distills these bits of information, because the reason so many people don't know about the athletic fee is most people still didn't read that entire email regarding the new fees.
Mhm. I mean, it's only
Because
affecting
it's-
less than a quarter of the grad student population, anyways, because it's the new students. So,
Yeah, but I mean, I
and
think
they probably didn't get an email about it. I don't know.
they probably didn't, but I would say most of my colleagues didn't know about the fee changes
Yeah.
anyways, because they get those emails and they've got a million emails and they don't read the entire thing.
I think with the deferment, I know Rahul's already shared it with a bunch of different sources, particularly ISA and ISS.
I haven't
that,
put it on the GPSC
yeah,
stuff
so if you
yet,
put it on the GPSC website, I don't know about sending it out through our listserv. I know you guys are gonna put on the newsletter, right?
The deferment stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
'Cause
can.
I think Carol
If
said she
you-
would.
Yeah, if you want to.
What kind of write-ups do you need for newsletter? Do you just want us to actually have the content, or just tell you what?
Yeah, if you can,
Okay.
so Carol can just like put it in the newsletter and send it out. So
Yeah.
it shouldn't be something that needs to be like
And that goes to Carol.
Mm-hmm. Or if anybody has anything that they want to put in the newsletter, they can just send it to GPSC at email, and Carol checks that email.
Mm-hmm. I think with regards to athletics fee, I think more information is better, and then we can get all those information and then put it on in an actual like email with regards to like, you know, opting in, opting out, like where we get tickets, you know, what we get from it, right, out of it.
Okay.
So students are actually informed about what it is instead of saying that it's a fee that I don't want to pay.
Yeah.
Because I think it's
Well, there's some who are going to want to use it.
exactly.
About 17%, if the survey was correct.
Is that the survey response rate, or is that?
It's a survey.
No,
response.
based on the survey, 17%
Yeah.
said they'd be willing
Yeah,
to pay it.
I'm just I would, and you don't know about the new students coming
No,
in, so
no.
I think it's better to give them information than to just tell them that you can opt out. Here's the link.
No, yeah, absolutely.
So.
And all of that type of information. Here's how you utilize it.
mhm.
Here's how you opt out if you so choose.
Yeah.
Here's how. I agree.
I know old students might want to opt in because it is significantly cheaper.
I was going to ask about that. Can they opt in? I
You
wasn't
should
sure.
be able to.
Okay, I didn't know.
It's significantly cheaper than Zona Zoo if you don't go to basketball. Anyways, so.
Okay.
And if you're really concerned about, you know, sitting next to students, the Zona Zoo section is going to be empty for most games.
Truth.
So most of the time you don't even want to sit there during the day because it's so hot. I know for
Okay.
several games we were just kind of finding wherever's shady and sitting there.
Okay, I will go through that draft and see if there's anything I think is particularly problematic. But I mean, I read over it, and yeah, it's probably not the tone of GPSC exactly. So I think a few edits, but the information
Yeah.
is definitely valid and worth sending. And you know, I also want to encourage groups who are doing the same type of work that we're doing through other organizations to send us things so we can, you know, use it, because we have the biggest platform.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think they'll learn really quickly. If we don't do that, then they'll just stop sending. You know, they'll say I tried,
I agree.
and
That
they
was my
don't,
feeling
so.
on it too.
Yeah, and I've been trying to talk to the different, as I go to the orientations to the different schools, governments, to say, whatever is important to you, let us know. We will put it in our newsletter. We can get that information out, because we have a large reach and a large list.
I'll say too that the GPSC student listserv, I believe the only emails that get added to that are people who go to GPSC orientation and people who self-select. So if you have events and you're like, hey, are you on our listserv? Like, sign up, and maybe you bring, I think we have an iPad or like a tiny computer here. Maybe you bring that to, you know, Anchovies or General Benz and be like, sign up here, and it automatically will put them into the listserv.
Yeah, we need to.
Has Marquez not been adding those to the listserv? I know he takes.
Ooh, I don't.
He takes a list of people who
Yeah,
attend.
he does.
He
And
gave,
people,
he gave me the list so I can go compare.
Okay.
I need to be added to being able to change that listserv.
Add people to it,
Add people
or you want to be a
view
like
it, an
administrator on
admin,
it?
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Do
that
you know-
I can actually see who's on the list.
If I just add you to it, do you know how to do stuff in there? Yeah. Okay. I will add you right now.
Childcare is another thing. If you could send me
yes.
links and the
Yes.
most important things people need to know about that would be great. Is there anything else kind of coming down the pipeline that we really need to make sure? I mean, obviously social events, but I'll take care of that. Is there anything going on campus wide that we really need to draw people's attention to on top of this?
Travel grants. I feel like that, and
I've let that kind of
and like the start date for all the grant programs, and then the due date for all of them. Like, I think they should be on the calendar. And then also, you know, maybe hey, reminder, travel grants are open starting
Mhm.
today. You have until this date, and then maybe even a mid-month, 15th. It's halfway. Have you done your application? You know, like
I think this
I'm
is
gonna get a calendar together and start plotting out
Yeah.
exact post dates.
this would
and
be
we're
a
going
good time to
start
send the
scheduling
reminder
them.
of the travel grants
Yes.
for
For
September
September.
1st.
right.
We're already mid-month.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yes.
thinking. Is and people are just getting back, and we've changed that, so they may not be.
Yeah,
and
no.
that's what
Yeah.
the people
And
love.
I
so.
especially also like adding the opening round so people know that when the October section.
Yeah, and
Or
if they get
the-
on our
yeah.
calendar, they can go, oh, hey, that opens in 2 weeks. I'm going to do that one,
Because I actually just recently noticed that there's always a month in between, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
For the travel grants?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah, so to put it on our calendar, put it on social media. And I have actually, I'm working on a list of events and the ones that I can figure out, like that have set dates, like attached to homecoming or attached, first week of April.
Yeah.
So we can have those, get them on the calendar, and then you can also
And you
put them
get
on
the
your
social
calendar.
stuff on the
So I will send out what I have right now is a draft
Mm-hmm.
form. As we know them, we can throw them up for sure. Some of them we do know, like the travel grant dates, etc. Some of them are like to be determined, so we won't put that kind of stuff on anything yet. But maybe you guys can also help fill in some of those holes. So I should make it into a Google Doc so we can all edit it. Because right now it's not, because I hate Google Docs. Oh, and this is like a side note, but I think we do it during homecoming, so it's coming up fairly soon. I hate the name Grant Winners Expo. I think that sounds so bizarre, and I don't
What is
think
that?
it. Thank you.
What
is
do
that? Yes, that is one of our events, and if you get a REAP grant, you are.
It's a showcase.
Yeah. It's student
But
showcase.
it's showcase, and then they do it again at homecoming time. It's 2 different events.
For the
Check on our website.
Wow.
is
Talk
that
to
for
Kevin.
the winners?
That
of
might
the
be
showcase?
outdated.
That
No.
That might be outdated because it's not listed on.
I know what you're
talking
events. about.
Technically, you're not really a grant winner. You're an awardee to begin with. But yes.
Because it's not listed in our budget for events that we
It's
do.
not.
It's not listed on that thing that we say we do, the pamphlet.
well, then if we don't do it, then we
You
should
just have them do
definitely
the
take it
split.
off.
Yeah.
And if we do it, we should figure out what the heck we do and change the name of it, because I hate the name Grant Winners Expo.
There's
Also,
actually
it doesn't
something
make
on
sense.
Okay,
GPSC
literally the
website.
last time
The last
you could
one was-
apply for it was October 7th, 2015.
But it also says in our REAP information, if you do this, then you are supposed to do showcase or this, right?
It's well,
We-
okay.
we
so
don't have an
when I got the
alternative
REAP,
yet.
The only thing I remember is showcase, and showcase used to be in the fall, and they bumped it to the spring.
We
So
also
they might have been trying
So
to
then they do
this
this to highlight at homecoming, is what I think
guess.
Kevin told me.
but
I don't know. Who knows?
Okay,
Nobody
but it
knows.
looks like the last time it happened was October 23rd.
yeah, let's just not do it. Let's just take it off our website and not do it. That doesn't sound like it's a good thing to be doing. I know
And
we're
it's
thinking
the
about.
like
People's
there's something
Choice
else we
Awards
could
for
do.
$500. Is that not in the events
I don't see
budget?
That's for the showcase, right?
But this is the People's Choice Award, where it's not the showcase judges, it's anybody who attends the expo gets to vote on this.
I don't know that that's in the social budget
No, the events
or
budget.
the events budget.
Yeah, because I think I asked Kevin about that in specifically to say, is this, where is this in, is this in showcase? Is this, and he said it's in there.
Well, I guess we could talk to Patrice, but I think there's something much more effective we could do during homecoming.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I was just bringing this up because
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is an
yeah.
oddity to me, and
Oh.
it's the place on Friday during homecoming weekend. So that was one of the dates I was trying to put on my calendar for. Okay, I know when homecoming is, therefore I can figure out the Friday.
Yeah.
That's not quite a good event to be running on homecoming. Just
Yeah,
it doesn't.
it seems out of place for
Yeah.
like a homecoming feel.
But it seems like they've only ever done it once, right? 2000.
Probably when they moved it.
See,
They
this
probably
looks like
did
the
it when they
student
moved
showcase.
it to give people an
yeah.
opportunity.
The picture looks like the student showcase.
It's exactly like the student
Yeah.
showcase.
But if you Google
Well,
it, you
it's
come up
smaller.
with GPSC Grant Winner Expo 2015-16, and
I-
it says
I'm
the
gonna
first
guess-
annual GPSC. Blah,
I'm
blah,
gonna
blah.
guess that they did that in an effort so that REAP grant awardees could do it in the fall if that worked better for their schedules.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't even seem like they did it last year.
No.
Because
Well, just because it's not on the website doesn't mean.
Oh, it doesn't mean that they didn't do it last year.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that.
I don't remember seeing it last year.
So we should follow up. We should let Patrice survive orientation.
Yes.
Then we should follow up with her.
Yeah.
See what she thinks of it.
Charlotte may also know a little something about this since it's attached to REAP.
Yeah.
So she would also probably be a good resource.
We will have this conversation.
I'm fine if we ditch it, but we need to figure out what the
Yeah.
heck it is and maybe get it off the website
Yeah.
if it's not real.
Applicable.
Okay, so changing the name is the least of our concerns.
Yes.
Thank you.
Did we, because we kind of diverted from there, did we finish talking about Meet Me at the Rec? Because I think actually knowing who's
Oh,
going to
is
be
there
at the tables.
anybody else that wants to join me at the day? Or
I mean, I
help me
could.
set up?
I could.
I have. Let me check my calendar because I think I can be there for
And so we'll have a table there.
part of the time. Yes.
Yes, we'll have.
Okay.
Yeah, so here's the only other issue is my class on Monday evenings gets out at 4:30, so I'm gonna be like dashing over there. So if there's somebody
Starts at
specifically
6,
who can
right?
pick up anything that we need to take over there.
I can do that.
Okay.
My
Starts
class ends
at-
at 6.
Starts at.
Your class ends at 6.
Oh no, I
5:50.
thought it was at 5 to 7. Okay, I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's-
I'll be
starts
here
at 6.
at 5ish then, and
But we can agree on the time
and then
here.
yeah.
I
that
think
would
they
be
give
great.
out pizza if you're early.
And I will
It-
be
I-
joining around 6:30. And then I can stay and
we
help.
give 'em
Yeah,
ways or
but
Clean
I
up
think,
and all
I
that
think
good
they
stuff.
run out of pizza.
Oh, okay.
Where
At the Meet Me at the Rec. I think they typically have pizza.
And how many
so
people
much
would
I've
we
been
need
paying
there?
attention.
What do you think?
I mean,
a couple, 2 or 3.
yeah, I think if we have 2 or 3, that's plenty. Honestly, it'd be great if we had more because
Mhm.
it will be more fun for us and we won't
One,
just
and
be like the
people can go
weirdos standing
wander.
there. Yeah, and we can go
Yeah.
talk to other tables, give them our information, get their
Mhm.
information so we know what is going on this wonderful, huge
I think
campus.
Rahul would probably go.
Yeah.
You just shoot him a
We'll,
text, he'll
we'll
probably
also
go.
send
And
a
then
reminder.
Yeah, and maybe even have a sign-up sheet tomorrow.
I also think
And say, if
we
you
can
wanna do
use
this.
the free T-shirts as like an incentive. Like, hey, sign up for the GPSC. Are you a graduate student? Sign up for the GPSC listserv, and you get a free shirt instead of just giving away shirts.
But then I think you might have to do the first couple of blah 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 who sign up for the.
Oh yeah, till supplies last.
Yeah, because
can we do a
always
raffle?
Have that till.
Can we do a
supplies
raffle
what do just for the shirts?
for the shirts?
Oh, so like get their emails and then.
Yeah, and then put them on the.
And then they're gonna come back for their
If you
shirt.
wanna- If you want to do the
Hey,
work
dude, come by here.
to set up making sure people get their shirts afterwards, yes.
That's fine. I'm just thinking like it's if you're gonna bring like 10 shirts, you're gonna run out in like.
No, I was gonna bring like 50 to 75,
Okay, that's.
somewhere around there.
But you only gave like 200.
Well, we could do like 100.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking we can let these last
Okay.
for longer
Yeah.
than.
Because I was thinking if you just do 10 shirts, just do a raffle. Right?
No,
but if you're
yeah.
doing like 100 shirts, then okay,
I don't think
fine.
we have to be that precious about them, but like yeah, so 75, somewhere between 50 and 100 shirts, I think would be fine.
And then how many?
Well,
of them
maybe
I
are
don't know how many
undergrads?
grad students are actually going to be at Meet Me at the Rec.
I don't know either, and I don't know how we'll know that they're graduate students either.
that's what I was
Um,
just thinking about.
It's
You
gonna
know.
have to be on their honor, but they're signing up for the grad listserv.
Right, but
But
if
If
they
they're
like the
not
T-shirt,
sure.
they might be like, "Oh yeah, I'll sign up on that," and they might not even realize. I mean,
Yeah.
it's some of those things you just go,
Mhm.
"Oh hey, they have cool pins. Yeah, I'll sign it." You know,
Yeah.
like you're not really like interested in getting Geico or whatever, but you sign up anyway because you wanted the flashlight.
That's why you maintain a spam email account.
That's exactly why
That's
you do
really
that.
funny. That's a great idea. I never even thought about that.
Maybe
Email that you
at
never
orientation,
check.
you know,
Yep.
give them out to the first people, like whatever, and then maybe have like a very small batch that we like raffle off at the end, or like
That's
trivia
great.
question, like, hey, if you can answer this, you know, and then you could win a shirt if you weren't the first 250 people there in a room of 800. Because then it's kind of like an item, like, ooh, everybody else got one, I want one, like,
Yeah.
and maybe like we could, I don't know, that's just a
Okay.
last minute
Let's keep
unusable
talking
idea.
about that later.
There's no later. That's
Well, not
coming
for
up.
orientation, you're right, but let's
Okay.
email about that.
Okay, so does everybody have all the information they need for the upcoming events? Do we need to go over others? Have we hit the most pressing ones?
I think we have.
Anybody have a motion they would like to make about anything?
We have to talk about meetings, don't we?
Oh yeah, Mondays
Okay.
work for everybody for executive board.
I mean, Mondays are
Should be
fine with me, yeah.
Me
Are we
too.
gonna, like I said, are we gonna start on the 21st, or are we gonna start the following?
21st is meet me at the rec, and
Yeah.
if we're
That
there,
is correct.
it's gonna be hard to have.
Yeah, and we just
We'll have a
met.
meeting there.
We just met
I'll
this
bring the
week.
GPSC computer and we'll, like, you know, set up the live stream.
We can post that.
You know,
We'd have
There's a
forum,
camera
we're
on there.
good.
We'll just have a camera, like.
Call to the audience. People are coming up.
But we need to in August, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And did we do one in August? No, these
Yeah,
were the
that's
two.
the
So 28th, does that no longer work?
Well, 28th would be right before the GC meeting, so.
I think what Dustin was.
Oh, yeah,
saying
yeah,
Are we
yeah.
gonna
that we
alternate,
wanted to
or
alternating weeks? Could we start doing it in September, maybe? Just
Then-
so we have the 2 meetings in August and.
so then we'd have 2 back-to-back then as well.
I'd be okay with that. I mean, at some point, we're going to just
Yeah.
have to.
Okay.
So we have one on the 28th to fulfill.
I'm
August
fine just
meeting.
canceling it and moving, but if we need
But
it,
we need to.
if we need it,
If we need to, that's what I was.
maybe we can vote on it right now
let's-
to like.
Let's maybe
not
keep
have
it a
it.
very short meeting and then do team building right afterwards
Okay.
instead.
Yeah,
on
let's do
Monday
that.
night?
That's a good idea.
That sounds good.
I love it.
On the
Okay.
28th.
28th. So
That'd be good
short
too, because I have a
meeting.
presentation earlier that day.
And then do one right,
So.
the week right after.
The week right after is Labor Day.
True. I don't have to teach.
So.
Team building Labor Day. Two
People
team
will be
building
out of town on Labor Day, won't they?
That's
Not
why
like
we
what
don't need
people do.
quorum. We don't need quorum for that.
For team building, that's true. Okay, so we're doing the EB
Barbecue.
meeting on the 28th. True? Yes.
Yes.
28th. We've got it.
28th. From that, we'll figure everything
And then
out.
well, the next Monday, Labor Day, would be.
Couldn't we do?
We don't need to meet every week.
We
No,
don't
we
need.
need to wait every other week.
Right.
And we're
But it's-
trying to get it to a point in which
It
we're
alternates with the
alternating between GC meetings and EB meetings every other week. So the.
Well, do we want to do that, or do we want to do them during the same week?
I'm
I can
doing
make an
them the
argument either
same
way.
week.
That's just a lot of meetings.
I can't make the
And I-
GC meetings anyway. So
I mean, it's 2 meetings one
That's-
week and
that's just a
then
lot of
none the
meetings.
next week, or 1 and 1. I mean, I think for me it comes down to if we have the executive board meeting the same time as the general council, we've already sent out the preliminary agenda for the general council, so we can talk about updates and whatnot, but it might be more beneficial
But
to
then we get to vote on things that need addressing right away instead of waiting a
That-
week and a half.
That is true. And I guess on the flip side, I was thinking anything that comes up at GC,
Mhm.
if you know that happens on Thursday night, we meet the next Monday. So you're talking just a few days, you know.
Yeah.
Then we pick all that up, kind of make sure it happens, gets to the committees, follows up, and we have you know a longer stretch, like you know a week and a half before GC meets again. So honestly, I can go either way, but
do you want to? We can try that for a month and see how it works.
okay,
And
to
see
do
if
the
it,
other.
if it works the way you think it works and it works, then we can keep it.
Okay. I mean, honestly, I can make the argument either way. So if you
Yeah.
guys think it would be more beneficial to have them on the same week, we can try that first. Like,
So wait, which
I mean, I
one
feel
are you
like-
suggesting?
I say
we
try them the same week first, and then if that doesn't work, and
Yeah.
then we realize
Okay.
that we need to have some sort of discussion between meetings.
Okay.
Because that's
then-
how it's gonna flow naturally, anyways.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. So then after that,
the next meeting would be the 11th instead of the 4th,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
And then every other week from there,
Yeah.
Yep.
assuming we don't change it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
then-
yeah, and so it'll be the same 2 meetings, 1 week. You'll be all GPS all the time.
And then the GC meetings would be every Thursday. There's no holidays on Thursdays except for Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving,
Except for Thanksgiving. Does that even?
That would be the
Hit,
one that we
though?
would need.
yes,
to
and
Yes, it does.
we had talked about
actually does.
moving it to that Tuesday. I don't know what people's travel schedule is like for Thanksgiving. I mean, are people going to be here that Tuesday if we were to hold the GC meeting, or should we move it? Should we move the week of the GC meeting?
I know I don't generally travel. I at least don't leave before Wednesday because I
I have to
teach.
teach, yes.
Yeah.
Me too.
So
Okay. Okay. I just want. I don't travel for Thanksgiving, so it's not a big issue to me. But
We can have it the week before, since there won't for that GC meeting.
just so it stays the same.
Arizona
every
Board
week.
of Regents is here then, which is, I mean,
What
they'll
day
be
is it?
done by the time our meeting would start. That's the only like big
Is that the 14th through the
notable 15th through the 17th.
16th? Okay.
Yeah, so we'll have
Yeah.
the student leadership dinner on Wednesday night, but that won't.
Yeah, we
What?
could. Yeah, we can. If there's a if it kind of crosses over, then we can move it to the 17th. So we'll have a meeting on the 10th and the 17th.
And we can
Or,
include
sorry,
the
the
GC in
9th
that
and the
discussion
16th.
too, and just make sure
Yeah.
they're all on board with that.
Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, that's the only Thursday. And then there was a meeting room problem, but I think they're going to try to stay the same date, find another room. If that can't work out, we'll revisit that date. But okay. Mondays.
That's good.
I like it.
Well, I move to adjourn.
Yes.
All right. I
I
have a
second it.
motion. I have a second. All the ayes.
I.
All the
Wait,
nays.
if I vote no, we have to stay.
No,
You
you're
do.
outnumbered.
You have to stay, actually, is how that goes. The motion, abstentions, the motion passes. This meeting is adjourned at 9:12.
3 hours.
Okay.
That's average.
I feel like we
You-
cut that down a little
That's
bit.
an hour
No.
meeting.
Yeah.
Does
You're
your
wearing me out.
yay
You
count?
wanna-
maybe?
Oh, I
No.
do know.
No.
No.
Okay.
She's
Especially
just
with the
cheering.
I
GPSC.
just hang. Yeah.
She's just so grateful. It's
Go
finally
GPS.